Good morning. Is the worst yet to come in the Middle East?
Well, the US warns Iran that a big wave of strikes is coming, suggesting that their military campaign on Tehran is only just beginning.
The hardest hits are yet to come from the US military. The next phase will be even more punishing on Iran than it is right now.
Well, Marco Rubio's comments come as the US has ordered the immediate evacuation of its citizens from more than a dozen countries. In the past few minutes, President Trump has shared this post on Truth Social. It says,
"The United States munitions stockpiles have never been higher or better, boasting of a virtually unlimited supply of these weapons. He says the US is stocked and ready to win big."
Well, overnight, fresh US and Israeli missiles hit key targets in Iran as Tehran continue with their retaliatory strikes, including 2 drones on the US embassy in Riyadh.
Well, Prime Minister Sir Keir Starmer insists the UK won't join offensive action, stressing international law and national interest.
We are not joining the strikes, but we will continue our defensive actions in the region.
Well, meanwhile, US War Chief Pete Hegseth clearly vents at the US's frustration with key traditional allies, including the UK.
We didn't start this war, but under President Trump, we are finishing it. Capable partners are good partners. Unlike so many of our traditional allies who wring their hands and clutch their pearls, hemming and hawing about the use of force.
Well, the first flights from Abu Dhabi landed at Heathrow Airport last night. But what's going to be done about the estimated hundreds of thousands of stranded Brits who may want to leave the region? We'll speak with some of those stranded abroad later on.
Meanwhile, there are growing concerns about global oil and gas supplies as Iran warns that they would burn any ship trying to pass through the Strait of Hormuz.
Well, also today, the Chancellor is under pressure to release an emergency plan amid the escalating tensions in the Middle East as she's set to deliver her spring statement.
Yes, it's a bit of a chilly start out there for many of us, but with lots of dry, lots of sunny weather around today, it really is going to feel like spring has sprung. Stick around for the details.
Good morning, it's just gone 6 o'clock. I'm Ellie Costello.
And I'm Mark White, and this is GB News Breakfast.
Well, it's going to be another one of those programmes, I think, today, Mark, where it's going to be lots of breaking lines, lots of developing lines, and lots has happened overnight, hasn't it?
I think there is no doubt about that, as obviously the region is waking up already. They're ahead of us, depending on where you are in the region, by a couple of hours or 3 or 4 hours. No word yet, though, which is interesting, of any significant retaliatory strikes from Iran this morning. Now, that might be indicative of the operation that's been underway, of course, a very significant operation underway by the Israeli and US forces there with a view to going after these rocket launchers and missile launchers in Iran itself. I want to just speak to one of our guests here, political commentator Bill Rammell. Good morning. Thank you very much for joining us this morning. Listen, we heard the statement from Sir Keir Starmer. He's trying to tread a fine line. Clearly, he has taken the legal advice, which is that going in to Iran would be a step too far. But just take a listen to this, if you wouldn't mind. This is a clip from Sir Keir Starmer in the Commons, where he's making the case for going after the missile launchers.
The only way to stop the threat is to destroy the missiles at source, in their storage depots or at the launchers. The US requested permission to use British bases for that specific and limited defensive purpose because they have the capabilities to do so.
So, Bill, by his own admission, he says obviously the most optimum way to stop these missiles coming over and targeting allied nations, British military installations and obviously citizens in that region is to destroy them at source, to destroy the launchers. So why can't we do that? Why are we shooting them down in the air?
Well, the reason we've given permission for the US to target those launchers is for the US, who have that capability to do it. But let's scroll back to the beginning of this. I think the actions from the US and the Israelis are reckless. They're not thought through. There's no clear plan. What comes next? There is a very, very questionable legal base. And the Prime Minister, as successive Prime Ministers have taken, is legal advice about the legality of us engaging in offensive actions. And the legal advice was, no, it is not legal. And therefore, rightly, he hasn't approved our supporting those actions. However, when we are attacked, when our partners are attacked, it's right that in a defensive posture, we allow the Americans to use our bases to target those ballistic missiles.
Well, you may well have an arguable point there in terms of whether this was reckless or not going in there. But we're kind of beyond that now. We're now in a phase where you need really to take the fight to the Iranians to stop what they're doing, which is targeting our facilities, our allies' nations, and of course our citizens there. Surely the way to do that, Bill, is to get in there and take out the launchers. Taking them out in the air, it's a distinction that's not, that the Iranians don't recognise. As far as they're concerned, we're in the fight. That's why they're targeting our bases.
Yeah, and we're doing both. We're both targeting their missiles in the air.
Not in country, though. We're not targeting them in Iran.
We don't have the capability
to
do that.
Which is why we've
allowed the US to target them.
We have the capability to bomb Iran as well, if we want. Those fighter jets that are up, F-35s and Typhoons, could absolutely take that action into Iran itself. They've got air superiority as part of a package going in there. We have that capability, Bill.
We have that capability to bomb Iran, but we're not going to do that rightly in an offensive way. What we can do is facilitate the targeting of the ballistic missiles that Iran has got. And that's what we're doing, and it's right that we do it. But my real concern is where this goes. The ramifications are enormous. The Straits of Hormuz are going to be blocked. Oil prices were up 13% yesterday. That's going to trigger significant impact on the global economy, on our economy. A 13% increase in oil prices in one day. This is going to start hitting everyday people in the UK and across the globe. And it's reckless, it's irresponsible. The regime, OK, they've taken out the supreme leader, but there's 150,000 very ideologically committed members of the Revolutionary Guard who are deeply embedded and resistant to change. And there's not the first clue from the Trump administration about how they're going to tackle that.
All right, Bill, do stay with us. I want to bring in Henry Bolton to our conversation, foreign policy and security expert. And Henry, let's stay on Sir Keir Starmer, shall we, and criticism that this has been a weak response from him. Speaking yesterday, he was talking about learning lessons from Iraq. Can the two be compared?
No, only very tangentially. Of course, the Iraq War was, there was a claim of weapons and mass destruction and so on. It was fairly ambiguous. I remember at the time that there was some question mark over the intelligence and so on as to whether those weapons existed. There is absolutely no disagreement on the fact that Iran is pursuing as rapidly as it can the processing of the uranium, the radioactive material that's required to make nuclear weapons, and that they're not very far away from it. Equally, Iran, we know, has been pursuing the construction, the manufacturing of the means to deliver those weapons through a ballistic missile program. And in fact, if you don't want to any deniers of that, just need to look at what Iran is throwing around the Gulf at the moment. It is precisely those missiles. So in that sense, it's not the same thing. Secondly, there is absolutely no suggestion whatsoever of a ground invasion and an occupation of Iran. Absolutely not. And in that sense, I believe that the lesson has been learnt, not only by the Brits, but by the Americans as well. So the two things are not the same. The same with Afghanistan. That was always, there was always a ground operation element to that, and there was extensive mission creep. I see no parallel whatsoever between Afghanistan and Iran at the moment.
Bill, in terms of what the US administration is saying and how they're reacting to this, we heard Marco Rubio there, not Marco Rubio, but actually Pete Hegseth, the defence secretary, saying that, these traditional allies clutching their pearls. He's obviously top of the list there is the United Kingdom. This is damaging our relationship with our key ally, isn't it?
Bill, that's to you.
Look, I think Trump is damaging the special relationship by reckless, irresponsible, ill-thought-through actions. And that's the real challenge that we're facing. And, the objectives of this are changing all the time. You listen to Donald Trump at the weekend, it was about regime change. They're now saying it's specifically about nuclear purposes. But scroll back to June last year, Trump said that the nuclear capability had been obliterated. Well, what you need is trust and confidence in the management of these operations. And how can you have that when the justification, the explanation is constantly changing?
Henry, do you think our response has been a tad schizophrenic?
I think our response has been absolutely appalling. I understand at first the reticence to go in there and, the whole regime narrative, changed narrative, muddied the waters somewhat. Look, the objectives are pretty clear, despite what people are saying. First is to destroy Iran's nuclear capability and weapons capability and its ability to deliver nuclear weapons. That's the missiles. Secondly, is to destroy Iran's capability of projecting violence across the Gulf via proxies or into the Straits of Hormuz via its naval and maritime assets. Thirdly, to create space for the Iranian people, should they wish to take up the challenge, to remove their own regime and replace it. Now, I suspect if that were to happen later on down the road, there might be some advisory sort of support given to that process. But those are the three goals. Now, I think that's perfectly clear. And in terms of whether this is reckless and irresponsible, I would suggest that it would be incredibly reckless and irresponsible to wait until Iran has actually produced a nuclear weapon, placed it on a missile, and fired that missile at a target in the Gulf before acting. Because these are weapons that one or two of them would absolutely wipe Israel off the face of the earth. Now, there are two things that constitute a sort of credible threat, really. One is the means, and that's what we're talking about here. And the other is the intention. Does Iran have that intention? Well, for 40 years, Iran has repeatedly stated that it wishes to destroy, annihilate, and remove Israel from the map, as well as saying much the same thing about American bases in the region and our own, including on Cyprus. So there is a very, very clear and persistently stated intention, and Iran was on the cusp of having the means to carry out that intention. It would have been reckless, dangerous, foolish, incompetent and complacent in the extreme not to respond to that threat.
OK, Henry Bolton and Bill Rammell, thank you very much, both of you, for joining us on GB News Breakfast this morning.
And just to say that a little later in the programme, we're going to be speaking exclusively to the Israeli President, Isaac Herzog, who will be joining us from Israel a little later in the programme.
Yeah, that's going to be about 10 minutes past 7, so don't miss that. Right, let's head across the pond now. Joining us now is US political commentator Lee Cohen. Very good morning to you, Lee. Can we start with Pete Hegseth's comments talking about traditional allies clutching their pearls and umming and ahhing about the use of force? That's aimed at Britain, isn't it? And have we, and Sir Keir Starmer's response to this, has it potentially undermined the special relationship?
Well, good morning, Ellie and Mark, and thank you so much for having me on. The stark truth is that Keir Starmer is destroying the time-tested, unshakable so-called special relationship that has survived wars, recessions and changes of governments on both sides of the Atlantic. In all my years as an advisor on the US-UK relationship to the US Congress, I have never seen a more strained moment and less trust for Downing Street from Washington. President Trump has declared himself very disappointed in Keir Starmer, first for delaying then limiting American access to Diego Garcia during strikes that targeted Iran's missile arsenal and leadership. But I'll wager he's not half as disappointed in Starmer as the people of the United Kingdom, who I suspect will never forgive the current government for degrading your nation on so many fronts at home and abroad. Quite frankly, it's unfathomable that it is in Britain's national interest to lose the trust of your staunchest and most important ally. And yet, how can America trust Keir Starmer, who has a robust track record of catastrophic judgment, from Iran to Chagos, the migration crisis, the handling of the grooming gangs, the net zero lunacy, appointing the disastrous Peter Mandelson as U.S. ambassador? You know, the list seems endless, and frankly, it looks like it stems from either deplorable judgment or pathological self-harm. History, frankly, will record Trump's legacy as the man who brought down some of the most fearsome enemies of the West. Excuse me. Starmer's legacy will be the leader who facilitated Britain's agonizing decline. The British people deserve infinitely better, and promising leadership is arising. I'm hopeful for that. But can Britain wait until 2029?
Well, to that end, Lee, how do you see this playing out? We have a Trump administration already lukewarm, might be a bit of an understatement in terms of how they view NATO's European allies, at least some of them anyway. Do you see potentially the Trump administration distancing itself even further from those European allies such as the UK?
Well, so there are the European allies in the UK, and I believe that in Trump's mind, Trump is very favorable to the UK, as you know. He's favorable on his ancestral links, which are Scottish. He's favorable, of course, on the monarchy, and he's favorable on the spirit of Britain, the spirit of Brexit, excuse me, which celebrated a strong and independent Britain, which is exactly what he respects and wants for our own country. And I really don't think that Trump in any way wants to distance himself from Britain. But when there are these, catastrophic problems that arise, like the delaying of the OK for Diego Garcia, like what's the giveaway, the Chagos Island giveaway, it really gives him a moment for pause. But quite frankly, I think he's looking forward. And unfortunately, Trump will be out of office before either Keir Starmer or whoever his successor in the Labour government is. And that is unfortunate.
Well, I wouldn't be too sure of that, Lee.
Well, I hope you're right. I pray that you're right there, actually, Mark. So,
Lee, in terms of the military objective of the US, has it changed in the past few days, or is there a confused picture within the Trump administration? Because President Trump, speaking on Saturday, made it quite clear he wanted to see regime change, and he was talking about the Iranian people rising up to overthrow the regime. But then we hear Marco Rubio speaking yesterday, saying that the main objective was to destroy Iran's nuclear facilities and capabilities.
No, indeed. I think Mr. Bolton, who preceded me, got it spot on. Certainly I think the objective is to create the conditions under which the Iranian people would actually rise up and facilitate the regime change, not for the America to do that. And certainly America's objective is to neutralize the dangerous nuclear capabilities. And quite frankly, I think the whole world should be indebted to him for that, because he's really doing something that endangers the whole global infrastructure.
What's the support like at home for this, Lee? I mean, President Trump yesterday speaking, yesterday afternoon, wasn't ruling out boots on the ground. He said other presidents would do that. I won't do that. What would the appetite be for boots on the ground, potentially, in Iran moving forward, considering this is a president who was elected on a ticket of no more wars?
Well, I don't think there's a huge appetite for boots on the ground. But I think that, after the years of impotence that we had under the Biden administration, much like I think Biden diminished our world standing in a very similar way that Keir Starmer is diminishing yours. And I think people are very relieved to have the resolve of a leadership like Donald Trump. And quite frankly, many of my British friends tell me that they're very relieved to have that kind of global leadership and someone who, has the resolve to take on the world's worst actors that endanger us all.
Lee Cohen, we really appreciate your input this morning. Thanks very much indeed for joining us.
Thank you so much.
Thank you. Now, at 20 minutes past 6, let's get a check on your weather with Alex Burkill.
Expect warm spells with the odd rude interruption. Box Boilers sponsors the weather on GB News.
Hello, very good morning to you. I'm here from the Met Office with your GB News weather update. Now, it is a bit of a chilly start for some of us, but through today there's going to be a lot of dry, a lot of sunny weather around for most of us. Not all, because there is a weakening front running across parts of eastern England through the Midlands towards the southwest, bringing a bit more cloud here. There will be a few spots of drizzly rain, but towards the north, across much of northern England, a large chunk of Scotland and also Northern Ireland, it's dry and it's sunny with just a few showers across the far north of Scotland. In the north, temperatures just about scraping into double figures, a bit milder than this towards the south. We're looking at highs of around 14 or 15 Celsius, so feeling relatively warm, particularly if you do get any of that sunshine. Like I said, a few showers across the far north of Scotland, particularly for Orkney and Shetland. These continuing as we go through the evening, but across much of Scotland, Northern Ireland, Northern England, we're ending the day on a largely clear note. That does mean, again, similar to last night, temperatures will drop, and so through the night we are going to see a bit of a frost developing in some places. Meanwhile, across central southern England and Wales, more cloud here, but there will be some breaks around, so some clear spells. And again, where you get the clear spells, we could see temperatures dropping, and there could be some mist, some fog, some murkiness in a few places as well. Towards the northwest of the UK, starting to see some outbreaks of rain pushing their way in. They're going to become more prevalent as we go through the day. As I mentioned, in any clearer spells, we are going to see temperatures taking a bit of a drop, so similar to last night, a bit fresh, perhaps a touch of frost in a few spots. Then through tomorrow, there is more cloud around generally, but many places will see some brightness, some sunshine breaking through at times. And towards the northwest, there will be some outbreaks of rain, more persistent rain starting to edge its way in later on. That's going to push its way through later on this week. Many areas, though, staying dry through the day, and temperatures tomorrow in the southeast higher than today.
Expect warm spells with the odd rude interruption. Box Boilers sponsors the weather on GB News.
Now, do stay with us. Still to come, the pressure is on the Chancellor, Rachel Reeves, to release an emergency plan as she's set to deliver her spring statement today. We're going to get the latest on that next on GB News Breakfast with Ellie and Mark.
Exciting news. Every Friday, my Patrick Christie's Tonight Show is going to have a twist to it. We're welcoming some special guests. You. That's right, on Fridays I'm going to be doing my show in front of a live studio audience because this show is about you and what you have to say. It's going to be the same big debates, same big topics, same big opinions. But every Friday night at 9 p.m, you are invited to come on down to Patrick Christie's Tonight to be a part of the action. Only on GB News, the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
Westminster, the ultimate clique.
And you're fighting like rats in a sack.
But here on the Camilla Tominey Show, we ask the questions the establishment media is too scared to ask.
OK, let me ask you a straight question, because I know you're a straight-talking politician.
Whether it's net zero, illegal immigration or law and order, nothing is off limits.
You had the power then.
Yeah, as I
and
say,
now you've lost it.
That's the Camilla Tominey Show, a politics show that's fearless.
But no, let me finish my question if you don't mind, because it is my show.
Sundays at 9:30, only on GB News, the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
At GB News, we love to hear from you, our loyal community. So drop us a line at gbnews.com/yoursay. There, you can talk to each other and also to the presenters live on air. gbnews.com/yoursay, because GB News is your channel, Britain's news channel.
Welcome back to Breakfast. It is 26 minutes past 6, and today Rachel Reeves, the Chancellor, is set to double down on her budget as the right economic plan as she confirms her spring statement for the economy.
Yeah, the Chancellor will speak after the Office for Budget Responsibility publishes its latest assessment of the state of the UK economy following November's budget.
Well, Rachel Reeves is expected to speak on the impact of the escalation of conflict in the Middle East, which has, of course, sparked uncertainty in the UK economy.
Well, we're joined by news editor for the Press Association, Theo Usherwood. Good morning, Theo. It's always great to have you in the studio. Yes.
It feels like we're the B team with this story, doesn't it? It's,
Rachel Reeves. What is her economic plan again? Just
look, I think the Treasury, been very clear in the lead up to this that they don't want to cause major fireworks. It's not a budget. It is a small fiscal event.
They really want to fly under the radar with this, don't they?
And they've got the perfect. And well, they have an opportunity to do so because of everything we've been discussing with what's happening in Iran and the Middle East. But inevitably, that's going to have a huge impact on the fortunes of the British economy. We've already seen wholesale gas prices jump up by 50%. That's going to feed through if this is a prolonged conflict and the IRGC continue to shut down the Strait of Hormuz. That's going to lead to sustained increases in the cost of energy for homeowners and and that will inevitably lead to inflation as well. It's going to cost more to import goods from, especially the Far East, that will have to go, rather than going through the Suez Canal, will have to go around the Horn of Africa. It could have a major impact on her fortunes and the fortunes of the economy.
Will she stick to the plan, or will she be forced to change course, bearing in mind the escalating tensions in the Middle East?
I think from the Treasury's point of view, that they're crossing their fingers and toes. That actually, they certainly in terms of this announcement, there won't be any major. The proverbial rabbit out of the hat, right? They're not going to be looking to make any major policy changes. Actually, if you look at the predictions, what people are talking about ahead of the OBR's forecast, we know they were leaked before the budgets at the end of last year. Actually, there were some signs of green shoots of recovery, but I think they could be so easily wiped out by events in the Middle East and especially around the cost of energy for people.
Well, talking of those events in the Middle East, you've got world tumult, but we've got these reports from the Treasury that it's been blocking money for this £1 billion deal for the medium-lift helicopters from our only company in the UK now that makes these military helicopters, Leonardo. That so much so that the Defence Secretary was going to be going down there to deliver the speech, to make the announcement, pulled at the last minute, only to be back on again. I mean, the right hand doesn't know what the left is doing.
Yeah, and of course, defence spending we don't spend, we're not spending nearly as much as we should be when it comes to defence spending. We don't have a plan to hit we have a vague plan to hit 3.5% by the middle of next Parliament, but that's nowhere near where it should be. Right?
We've got an announcement that this is our trajectory, but actually,
but no
in
promises.
terms of money spent, we've not really spent anything so far, have we?
No, we haven't. And I think, but from the Treasury's point of view, we've got, widespread pressures right across the economy when it comes to the NHS and welfare spending, and defence has long been, for too long, been a Cinderella service in terms of what it gets from the Treasury. But from Rachel Reeves's point of view, she wants to portray an image of being quietly in charge, confidence when it comes to the stewardship of the economy. Her political future, her political career is at stake too here. It is not just a question, she is linked inextricably to Keir Starmer, but there are those within the Labour Party who, we only had the Gorton and Denton by-election last week, who would happily remove Rachel Reeves as well as Keir Starmer were there to be, change at the very top of the government.
She's under pressure as well to scrap the proposed hike in fuel duty. And there's analysts today, front page of the Telegraph, saying drivers are facing the prospect of paying an extra £10 for a full tank of fuel.
Yeah. Do
you think she'll move on this?
No. I don't. Look, it's one of those ones, isn't it? The freeze and fuel duty is a sort of political tool where chancellors repeatedly refuse to change it, and then it becomes de facto. And then to suddenly change it now, with the impact it would have on your viewers, suddenly having to pay an extra £10 to let's take the kids to school, commute, do their jobs, it would be extraordinary if she went to do it. The other one that might, there had been talk, and I'm not sure she is going to move on this, was around repayments for student loans. And we've seen people, running into tens of thousands of pounds of debt, and she froze the threshold at which you start paying at around £28,000. And there's been a huge amount of pressure for the Chancellor to actually reverse on this. Kemi Badenoch has changed the Conservative policy on it to try and bring in younger voters, and it's becoming increasingly indefensible. At the same time you have the triple lock for pensioners, you're asking young graduates to pay more into the system, and it's not just, and as ministers have admitted, this isn't just money to pay back the student loans, to pay for higher education. They're actually using it, in effect, as a general taxation to pay for the things that they want to do. And I think the Chancellor may not move on it today, but I think increasing pressure is going to be put on to the Treasury to actually change the repayment terms, because they're looking so unfair at the moment.
OK, Theo Usherwood, thank you very much indeed for speaking to us.
Thanks, Theo. Now at 6:32, if you were travelling to work or school this morning, here is your traffic and travel update.
Good morning, this is the latest AI travel news from gbnews.com. On the M90, expect a partial blockage at junction 1B, ferry toll, after a road traffic incident. In North Yorkshire, the A19 southbound at the junction with the A168 and the A170 has a broken down vehicle with one lane closed. It should be back to normal by around 6:30 this morning. In Hampshire, the A303 eastbound between the A34 and the M3 also has a broken down vehicle with one lane shut, easing by around 7:20 this morning. And on the trains, Southern has no trains at Amberley. For more travel news, go to gbnews.com.
Now, do stay with us, still to come, as the first flight from Abu Dhabi landed in Heathrow last night. We're going to get the latest on what is happening to the estimated hundreds of thousands of stranded Brits who may want to leave the region. That's next on GB News Breakfast with Ellie and Mark.
I'm Michelle Dewberry. This is Jubes & Co. with you.
Hello, everyone. Patrick Christie is here to GB News,
Britain's news channel.
Access the stories that matter to you. Take the GB News family with you on any device. And as long as you have an internet connection, tune in to GB News anywhere on the planet or beyond. GB News, the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
From the school run to the home run, watch a new show for all of Britain.
So he can say whatever he wants.
A straight-talking show where all voices are heard.
And, you know, when are we going to stop talking about smashing the gangs and actually do it?
With the stories that matter from every part of our country.
There's a bit of a crash landing there for your Chancellor.
Bold, fearless and standing up for you. That's me, Martin Dordme, 3 p.m. till 6 p.m, weekdays, here only on GB News. The People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
Westminster's full of talk, but out here, it's the real world.
Am I allowed to talk then?
No, that's it. This is where it matters, real people and real lives. That's what politics is all about.
In fact, has Trump made a good start? No.
Straight answers, no spin, and just a couple of pints.
How many fingers have I got up? About 10.
So join me for Lee Anderson's Real World every Friday at 7 p.m, only on GB News. The People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
You want to know what's really going on in the corridors of power? Labour don't know what to do with you half the time, and that makes you quite lethal in the chamber. Get behind the headlines with Chopper's Political Podcast. Join me, Christopher Hope, as I sit down with the great and the good of British politics. We'll see where this ruling takes us. These are the stories shaping our nation. Chopper's Political Podcast, available now on all platforms. Listen in and stay ahead.
Decisions made in Washington aren't just shaping America, they're shaping Britain too. From migration to global security, from crime to health. Whatever happens in the White House today
will be felt in your town or city tomorrow.
That's why The Late Show is live from Washington, D.C.
Cutting through the politics to show you what it all means for Britain.
The Late Show live every night at midnight.
Only on GB News.
Britain's news channel.
Bold. They are under no illusion.
Ray.
Are you a human trafficker?
Boundless. I've had enough of the nonsense, and I'm not afraid to say it.
Don't get this on the BBC.
Every weeknight, I tear through the headlines.
The smell of gasoline. Should we be worried about it?
From Westminster madness to cultural war chaos.
What we're going to do now is they are throwing things out the car as we speak.
Get ready, Britain. Here we go. Patrick Christie tonight, weeknights from 9 p.m, only on GB News, Britain's news channel.
Well, welcome back to GB News Breakfast at 6:37 this morning. Some breaking news coming in, and after quite a number of hours of a lull in activity in terms of missiles or drones coming from Iran, alerts now sounding over Jerusalem and large parts of central Israel, with reports of hostile aircraft, the Eamonn unmanned drones coming in to that area. So those alarms sounding, telling people to get to their shelters as this drone alert is activated. Now, what we don't know is whether these are drones that have been launched from Iran. That's absolutely possible. Or maybe even from southern Lebanon, because we know, of course, over the last couple of days that the Iranian proxy, that terror group that is aligned to the Iranian state, Hezbollah, has joined the fight and have been launching drones, multiple drones, through the southern border of Lebanon down towards Israel. And that is why Beirut here in Lebanon has come under fire. You can still see plumes of smoke on the in the skyline of Beirut there, which is a response from the Israelis going after Hezbollah command and control structures in Lebanon to ensure that they do not launch any more munitions towards Israel itself. But as I say, just in the last couple of minutes, alerts now sounding across Jerusalem and central Israel, reports of drones incoming.
It is worth saying we are speaking to President Herzog of Israel in about 30 minutes' time, so we'll get some reaction to those developments this morning. Also, just want to bring in this breaking line from Air France, who have just said that due to the security situation, Air France has cancelled its flights to and from Tel Aviv, Beirut, Dubai and Riyadh. That is until the 5th of March, so that would be Thursday. That announcement from Air France in the past few minutes, and it comes as the first stranded Britons have returned from Abu Dhabi last night.
Yeah, hundreds of thousands of Britons remain in the Gulf nations amid growing tensions in the Middle East?
Well, the Prime Minister says the government is looking at ways to support our people. Well, joining us now is Neil Dutson, who is a diamond dealer stuck in Dubai and a friend of GB News Breakfast. We spoke to you yesterday, didn't you, Neil? You're being very British in your manner. You're keeping calm and carrying on. How have the past 24 hours been in Dubai?
Hi, good morning, Mark. Hi, Ellie. The past 24 hours actually has been quite quiet. I mean, last night there were a couple of incidences about 11:30, a couple of explosions, and then I was woken up at 3 o'clock this morning, and then and again by 3 explosions, and that was verified by. I follow the Foreign Office on Instagram, and I follow the UAE government on Instagram. And yes, my alarm went off on my phone as well at 3 o'clock. So basically, you have to run to a shelter or to as near a underground as you can, and that's what we all did. We went down below into the car park of our building, and then at 6:30 this morning there was I didn't see them, but I just heard them, a massive jets that flew quite low over. I'm probably coming back. But yeah, I mean, for me, I've taken a friend's son under my wing. He's 18. He's a bit frightened, and we're trying to make a plan. And if it doesn't improve by early next week, I think we'll probably try and get out via Saudi Arabia or another local country. But sadly, at the moment, everything's closed.
Does it look to you, Neil, from what you're hearing in the region, that the operation in terms of what is being carried out by the Israelis and indeed the US in trying to take out these missile launchers and drone launching sites, that is having some effect? I mean, we are seeing quite a significant gap now, it seems, between the various missile and drone launches.
Oh, totally. And I think I stand, I think they're incredible. And I've got to be honest, the Dubai air defense system, from what I've understood and being now firsthand seeing, is incredible. I mean, they've obviously spent a lot of money over the last few years to implement that. And they're just incredible people, and they're frontline operatives that are looking after our well-being. And I think in answer to your question, yes, I am seeing bigger gaps. I believe, and obviously we all read the news, and I watch the news too. And there's a lot of I think there's a lot of people here that are still think there's nothing going on, but I saw someone yesterday, or quite a few people drinking beer around a pool. But I suppose when times are like this, you just got to crack on, right? But I think, yeah, you're right. I think the offensive and the defensive from from Israel, America, and the UAE is incredible.
Neil, do you think there's been enough support from our government so far? Has there been enough support from the Foreign Office? The advice seems to be to register online and then sit tight, whereas we've seen the US start their evacuation flights last night. Do you think that we could be doing more as a country?
I do, actually, yes. I do think we could be doing a lot more. It's a bit lip service at the moment, again, following their announcements, and it's just common sense. All stay safe, it's almost like COVID, wear a mask, and it's, get some, stay indoors. Yes, of course, we all know that, but I think an evacuation plan would be quite crucial very quickly, because if this does escalate, there's going to be a lot of frightened people here, and and we all know it's awful, and there are a lot of people here that are on holiday. They're probably having a lovely time by getting free accommodation for the next few days, but there needs to be a better solution from the British government. And the Foreign Office, yeah, it's pretty useless information, to be honest.
Yeah, I mean, the plan seems to be just to sit back and wait and hope that airspace opens up soon. How concerned are you, Neil, at the lack of a Royal Naval presence here? We've seen with past crises where they've sent these big Royal Naval platforms that can, take thousands of people at a time from ports in the region. There is no Royal Naval presence there at the moment.
No, there isn't, and I'm a huge advocate of the Royal Navy, and they will be waiting for someone in Parliament to tick that box, right? And it's not, and generally it's someone that probably hasn't served. So there's no great rush. You know, I've seen some warships. There's 2 warships off the shore now, pointing Iran direction. But I think they're warships. One's a helicopter ship, and one is probably knocking out missiles from the sky when we're asleep. But it would be nice to have a little bit more information. You know, the ambassador to the UAE from the UK, yeah, it's lip service. Yeah, the Royal Navy would be great.
You say you've taken your friend's 18-year-old son under your wing, which was so nice of you to do. Did you see the pictures last night? I'm sure you have, of the first flight to leave Abu Dhabi, land in London Heathrow, those first Brits being taken home. Did that give him some hope? Does it give you some hope that hopefully he'll be able to do the same thing?
Well, Jack's a lovely guy. So his dad's a really good friend of mine, and Jack came out here to get a job, and clearly the job hasn't been created because of the issue. So, you know, he's 18 and he was at school 6 months ago, and it's kind of, you know, I'm just giving him a bit of a dad helping hand, really. And yeah, he's keen. I think our plan, as I said, after the weekend, if nothing improves, I'll probably buy a car and we'll head up through into Saudi Arabia and out via Jeddah, if that's available. But, you know, it's just common sense at the moment, and just listening to the news and stay safe.
All right, Neil, really good to talk to you today. Best of luck to you and to Jack, and do stay safe.
Thanks.
Yeah, I'll keep you in the loop.
Yeah, do. We'll hope you speak to him tomorrow. I did think it was amazing, actually, the way that the UAE has been handling this, Mark, as Neil was just alluding to there. It's free hotel stays now for anybody that's found themselves stranded in the UAE. And also, the UAE president yesterday and the Dubai Crown Prince visited Dubai Mall, which is the largest mall in the world, and they sat and had coffee publicly, just, I think, to show that there was nothing to be afraid of. They're trying to reassure
I think
the
I'd
nation.
be one of those round the pool with a beer.
I think you probably would, actually, knowing you. I'd be there with a strawberry daiquiri alongside you. Anyway, do let us know if you are stranded, if you've got family members stranded in the region. How are they planning to get out? How do they feel as though the government has been responding to all of this? Do let us know, gbnews.com/yoursay.
Still to come on the programme, overnight the US and Israel struck Iran as Tehran continue with their retaliatory strikes, including, of course, those drones launched at Jerusalem at the moment and the US Embassy in Riyadh. We'll get the latest on that with Anna Firth and, of course, Freddie Gray.
Yeah, but first, here is the forecast for some of the top European destinations.
Ready to soak up that holiday sunshine?
Won't we need some cover?
No worries, all sorted.
All Clear Travel Insurance sponsors GB News Travel Destinations Forecast.
Bit of a mixed bag weather-wise, looking across southern Europe at the moment. Yes, there's some wet weather in the west. We had Storm Regina pushing through Portugal, now bringing some rain across parts of Spain, even down towards the Canaries. Further east, a few showers for Italy, but across Greece, it's actually largely dry on Wednesday. Some decent sunshine, and with that, some decent warmth as well, with temperatures rising high teens, possibly low 20s. Still some further rain in Spain to come later this week.
All Clear Travel Insurance sponsors GB News Travel Destinations Forecast.
At GB News, we love to hear from you, our loyal community. So drop us a line at gbnews.com/yoursay. There you can talk to each other and also to the presenters live on air. gbnews.com/yoursay, because GB News is your channel, Britain's news channel.
This is GB News, Britain's news channel.
They really are. And William, of course, president of BAFTA, they were there, William and Catherine, to celebrate the best of British talent and creativity. And for the Princess, she hadn't done it for the last couple of years because of her cancer journey. So to have them back there with the full glam of the Princess wearing this beautiful floor-length Gucci dress on most of the front pages this morning perhaps shows the power that they do have in terms of celebrating British creativity. But we've got this elephant in the room, don't we? And that is what's happening with Andrew. And we've got William's comments on all the front pages.
Yeah, front page of The Sun, Wills, I'm not in a calm state. Front page of my paper, The Daily Mail, exactly that. He would have wanted those words to be out there.
Very clearly at the Duchess of Kent's funeral. He was so uncomfortable, stood next to him. He really was, refused to engage in any conversation. It was very obvious William's point of view on that one. And I think for the British public, maybe the Walesers will be hoping that the public will judge those two, the future of the monarchy, on their actions and their dedication to service and duty, rather than the alleged alleged kind of conduct of Andrew Mountbatten-Windsor.
Do you think, reading through the lines, William is absolutely fuming about the whole thing, hates that he's been caught up in it at all, and I'm not in a calm state is a bit of a euphemism? I expect he wants to come out and say to journalists, look, it's nothing to do with me. Please keep me away from this. It's not my fault.
Yeah, I mean, William's been given a lot of opportunities over the last week since Andrew's arrest to release some kind of statement, and they've declined to do so. We've been told by sources close to William that, you know, he fully supports his father's statement, particularly when it comes to the law must now take his course. This is the King's statement following Andrew's arrest. I think for William, he is focused on the future and safeguarding the future of the monarchy.
GB News, the People's Channel.
Join me, Nana Akwe, for an informative, interactive news programme with a difference. It's fun.
No, he didn't say that, Dave.
I'm so surprised.
I think there's an element of truth to that.
Join me from 3 p.m. every weekend, only on GB News, Britain's news channel.
In the GB Newsroom, we bring you the news as it happens.
With our team of dedicated journalists across the UK, we're ready to keep you up to date with what's happening every half an hour, every single day. Bulletins here on GB News, the People's Channel,
Britain's news channel.
Welcome back to Breakfast. Let's take a look at some of the newspaper front pages. And The Times leads with President Trump's warning to Iran, big strikes are coming.
That's as The Sun highlights inaction from the government after a blitz on an RAF base in Cyprus.
The Telegraph headlines President Trump's disappointment in Sir Keir Starmer, claiming he took far too long to let the US strike on Iran from UK bases.
The Mail reports US lambasts hand-wringing, pearl-clutching Starmer, as Kemi says he's scared of his own voters.
Well, joining us now to discuss all of this is former Conservative MP Anna Firth and Deputy Editor of The Spectator, Freddie Gray.
Morning, both.
Morning, you two. Anna,
Morning.
let's start with you, shall we? What do you make of Sir Keir Starmer's response to all of this? And let's focus on the evacuation of Brits in the region, an estimated 300,000 or so. 102,000 have registered with the Foreign Office, talking about potentially wanting to be evacuated. But so far, the plan seems to be, well, we'll wait until airspace opens up and we'll focus on commercial airlines getting them out.
Yeah, well, I mean, I think Keir Starmer's response, I'm afraid, has been appalling since the beginning. And I do offer some insight on this because Keir Starmer is a lawyer. Yeah. I was trained as a lawyer. He has been trained not to have a view. He has been trained to always look at both sides of the coin. Now, for some lawyers, they escape that training and they still remain and have their own views and values. I'm afraid Keir Starmer hasn't escaped that training. That's his basic problem. He never has a view. So it takes him forever to decide what his values and what he should be doing. And that's exactly what he's done here. And he was too slow at the beginning. I mean, you mentioned that the Brits in the region, but why on earth wasn't he already, right at the beginning, why wasn't he thinking of our massive military installations and British interests, as well as the 300 people who are living and working in the Middle East?
Well, whether it was right or wrong for the Americans to do what they did in conjunction with Israel, we're kind of beyond that point now. We've come under direct attack from the Iranians. Isn't it time, actually, just to get in there? Keir Starmer said himself that going after the launchers in country is a much better option than waiting until they're in the air heading towards you.
Well, yes, I mean, but how much kit do we actually have in the region? How much can we actually do as a hard power?
That doesn't matter. Just getting involved and doing something, surely.
Something. But, I mean, we need to know what that something is, I think, if you're talking about attacking launchers.
Surely you agree that the first thing Keir Starmer should have done is give the Americans access to Diego Garcia and to RAF Fairford.
Yes, I think we actually don't know yet the details of the spat over the site at Diego Diego Garcia and when the American request happened, how the British turned it down. The politics of that are fascinating.
But what we do know, and Mark's making this point, is that we don't have the capabilities we once had. The Americans do have those capabilities. So therefore, if they are asking for permission simply to be able to fly their planes and defend our interests as well as theirs, isn't it a no-brainer to say yes?
It probably would be a no-brainer on the basis, but I think I find myself in a rare position of feeling a little bit sorry for Keir Starmer here.
Do you?
Yeah.
Oh my gosh!
Why?
Trust me, it feels unusual. I think he is trying to support the strikes while not supporting the strikes. Kemi Badenoch is absolutely right to say that he's scared of his own voters. That's true. The Labour Party are very worried about Muslim voters. They're worried about progressive voters who align with Muslim voters, and that's clearly chief of their concerns, and that is bad. I think that's a bad situation in British politics. However, on the international front, aside from the bases issue, which is now the Brits have said we are going to let the Americans use our bases.
Well, no. He's tied one hand behind their back on this issue as well. You're only allowed to use our bases if you're going after the launchers. You're not allowed to go after their ministries or, indulging your decapitation strikes. Just going after the launchers. So it's not a full and unequivocal use of bases.
Yeah, but the Americans have also suggested, although it's clearly not true, that they are not engaging in the strikes on decapitation. This is also a defensive action. So we are essentially in the same position as the Americans then officially. So I don't think that's necessarily wrong. And I think Keir Starmer saying we don't do regime was actually surprisingly pointed from him to say we don't believe in doing regime change from the skies. I think a lot of Americans don't believe in doing regime change.
Yeah, well, as you say, it is pointed of him. Isn't he in real danger here of significantly damaging this relationship with our number one ally?
He is in grave danger of it, but the war itself is in danger of spilling out of control.
As always, Keir Starmer has missed the most obvious trick in the book. Given we want a trading relationship with the US, he should have said, yes, you have all the bases, but we have a better trading relationship.
Well said.
Anna, Freddie, thank you very much. We'll be back with the developing stories in just 2 minutes' time.
Thank you for making us Britain's #1 news channel. Together, we have built something truly extraordinary.
Good morning. This is the latest AI travel news from gbnews.com. On the M90, significant obstructions at junction 1B, ferry toll, have arisen due to a major road traffic incident, necessitating that motorists allocate extra travel time and proceed with increased caution. In North Yorkshire, the A19 southbound exit slip to the A170 is currently obstructed by a broken-down vehicle, resulting in one of 2 lanes being closed and causing significant traffic queues in that area. Additionally, rail passengers should be aware that Southern has reported that no trains are currently operating at Amberley Station, potentially impacting travel plans in that region. For more travel news, go to gbnews.com.
You could be the proud owner of a brand new Benivan 122. This very latest 2026 model comfortably sleeps 4, comes complete with built-in kitchen, compact washroom, and is worth over £67,000. But that's not all, as we'll also give you a further £25,000 in tax-free cash to spend on anything you like in the coming year. For a chance to win a camper van and cash, text prize to 63225. One entry costs £2.50 plus 1 standard network rate message, or text bonus to 63225. 5 entries cost £5 plus 1 standard network rate message. Go to gbnews.com/win. Entry starts at £2.50. Call 0903 686 3232. Calls cost £2.50 plus your network access charge. Or post your name and number to GB20 PO Box 8690 Derby DE1 9TT. Entrance must be 18 or over. Lines close at 4 p.m. on the 1st of May. Please check the closing time if listening or watching on demand. Good luck.
In the GB newsroom, we bring you the news as it happens.
With our team of dedicated journalists across the UK, we're ready to keep you up to date with what's happening every half an hour, every single day. Bulletins here on GB News, the People's Channel,
Britain's news channel.
Britain deserves a newsroom that puts the facts and your voice first.
Well, and that's what you get on GB News. Lively debates, lively conversation,
And we're not afraid to hold power to account.
and each other. So join me, Andrew Pierce,
And me, Miriam Gates, for Britain's Newsroom, weekdays from 9:30 on GB News.
At GB News, we love to hear from you, our loyal community. So drop us a line at gbnews.com/yoursay. There you can talk to each other and also to the presenters live on air. gbnews.com/yoursay, because GB News is your channel, Britain's news channel.
Good morning. Is the worst yet to come in the Middle East?
Well, the US warns Iran a big wave of strikes is coming, suggesting that the military campaign on Tehran is only just beginning.
The hardest hits are yet to come from the US military. The next phase will be even more punishing on Iran than it is right now.
US Secretary of State Marco Rubio's comments come as the US has ordered the immediate evacuation of its citizens from more than a dozen countries. In the past hour, President Trump has shared this post on Truth Social. It says,
The United States munitions stockpiles have never been higher or better. Boasting of a virtually unlimited supply of these weapons, he says the US is stocked and ready to win big.
Well, overnight, fresh US and Israeli missiles hit key targets in Iran as Tehran continue with their retaliatory strikes, including 2 drones on the US embassy in Riyadh and drone strikes on Jerusalem this morning.
Well, Prime Minister Sir Keir Starmer insists the UK won't join offensive action, stressing international law and national interest.
We are not joining the strikes, but we will continue our defensive actions in the region.
Well, meanwhile, US War Chief Pete Hegseth clearly vents the US's frustration with key traditional allies, including the UK.
We didn't start this war, but under President Trump, we are finishing it. Capable partners are good partners. Unlike so many of our traditional allies who wring their hands and clutch their pearls, hemming and hawing about the use of force.
Well, the first flight from Abu Dhabi landed in Heathrow last night. But what's going to be done about the estimated hundreds of thousands stranded Brits who may want to leave the region? We'll speak with some of those who are stranded later in the show.
Meanwhile, there are growing concerns about global oil and gas supplies as Iran warns that they would burn any ship trying to pass through the Strait of Hormuz.
Also today, the Chancellor is under pressure to release an emergency plan amid escalating tensions in the Middle East as she's set to deliver her spring statement.
Yes, it's a bit of a chilly start out there for many of us, but with lots of dry, lots of sunny weather around today, it really is going to feel like spring has sprung. Stick around for the details.
Good morning, it's just gone 7 o'clock. I'm Ellie Costello.
And I'm Mark White, and this is GB News Breakfast. Well, half an hour or so ago, we brought you the breaking news of drones heading towards Jerusalem and central Israel. Well, the latest word from the Israeli Home Front Command, as we look over Jerusalem at the moment, is that the all clear has sounded. Those drones have been intercepted, and we await word of whether the drones were launched from Iran, as is, of course, perfectly possible and has happened over recent days, or whether this is Hezbollah, who've just joined the fight as well, that terrorist proxy group aligned to Iran based out of southern Lebanon. So we await word on where those drones came from. But the good news, the all clear has been sounded. Those drones have been intercepted.
Yeah, and of course, we'll keep you across that throughout GB News Breakfast this morning. Now, it's just coming up to 4 minutes past 7. I'm delighted to say that joining us now is Treasury spokesperson for Reform UK, Robert Jenrick. Very good morning to you, Mr. Jenrick.
Morning, good to see you.
Robert, can we ask you first of all just what you thought of the Prime Minister's performance in the Commons yesterday? I was struck by the fact that he said very explicitly that, you know, the optimum thing to do is to go after these missiles before they're launched, to go after the launchers, yet still seems to want to limit the UK to going after them once they're in the air, with all the inherent dangers that that brings. What did you make of what he said?
I thought it was a very weak performance. You know, he does not come across like a leader. He just seems to be constantly vacillating. He doesn't know what he thinks. And he's worried primarily about a strict adherence to international law rather than what is in our national interest and how can we best support our friends and allies around the world. He's more interested in taking the advice of Lord Hermer, his legal mate, than he is about doing what's necessary to protect our troops and their families on our base in Cyprus. Look, no one should mourn the death of the Ayatollah and the demise of his regime. This was an evil regime in Iran, but more importantly for us here, it's also been a regime that has attacked our own interests. Its proxies have fired missiles at British flagged vessels out at sea. It's attacked people here in the United Kingdom, getting spies and agents over on small boats, and they've supplied some of the weapons like the IEDs that led to the deaths of British troops in Iraq and Afghanistan. So its demise or pressure on that regime is a good thing. But what we want is a Prime Minister who actually knows what he thinks, is leading, is a reliable ally on the international stage, and is protecting our interests. And we just don't see that from Keir Starmer at the moment.
Well, you've just alluded to it there, Mr. Jenrick, but how concerned are you about security in this country off the back of this escalating conflict in the Middle East? We know that there are sleeper cells in this country. There's been 20 or so Iranian-backed plots foiled in the past few years. How do we keep British citizens safe on the streets of Britain?
Well, it's a very good question. And look, the truth is, this government, and frankly the last Conservative government of which I was a part, were hopelessly naive when it came to Iran and its influence here on our soil in the United Kingdom. For example, both governments have failed to prescribe, to ban the Iranian Revolutionary Guard Corps, an organisation that does have roots in the UK. That should be done immediately so that our security services and police can arrest those individuals with links to it here, can freeze its bank accounts, stop it having activities here. Iranian-backed organisations like cultural institutions, which are simply fronts for their agents, need to be closed down, those individuals removed from the country, and an absolute zero-tolerance attitude to anyone with links to this regime. If they're here in the UK, if they're threatening our citizens, then they should be deported immediately. That's what I want to see Keir Starmer frankly say, that he's going to turn the tide on all this malign influence and have a crackdown now to protect British citizens.
To that end, how concerning is it to see the deputy leader of a political party, the Green Party, attending an event mourning the Ayatollah?
I thought it was very, very sad to think that a political party that's gaining some traction in some elements in the country has a deputy leader who is out on the streets of our country mourning, celebrating the life of someone who not only was an evil dictator, one of the world's longest serving dictators for his own people, but actually brought about the deaths of our own citizens. Think of those young men who fought bravely for our country in Iraq and Afghanistan, who died at the behest of IEDs and weapons that were supplied by the proxies of Iran. And here you've got somebody who is a British politician who presumably aspires to be in the House of Commons behind me, actively celebrating that man. And he wasn't alone either. You saw, for example, University College London students celebrating or mourning the life of this individual as well. It speaks to a broader truth that, unfortunately, sectarian politics has taken hold in some parts of our country, particularly pockets of our big cities. And that's got to be confronted head on. Some of us, myself included, have been talking about this for a long time, and sometimes it was a lonely cause. Parts of our political and media class, not GB News, it has to be said, have attacked, has scorned people who've been making this argument. But now it's here in plain sight. We can all see it, and it's got to be fought. And that's one of the many reasons why we do need a big change in this country. We need to get a reform government in who will change this and have an absolute zero-tolerance attitude towards extremism of any kind, and begin to assert a strong, unifying national identity in which these kind of attitudes and anti-British views will have no place.
Robert, just want to get your reaction to this breaking news that we've got coming into us in the newsroom. This is US President Trump. It's an interview with the Sun newspaper. He says he is sad to see that the relationship with Britain is obviously not what it was. He has criticised Sir Keir Starmer directly. He says he has not been helpful. I never thought I'd see that. I never thought I'd see that from the UK. We love the UK. He also blamed the Prime Minister's botched deal to hand over the Chagos Islands to Mauritius, this direct quote. We call it the woke island. What's your response to those comments from the US President?
Well, look, the UK and the US have stood side by side for generations. It's an incredibly important relationship, and so much of our defence and security depends on the United States. You see how weak our armed forces sadly are today as a result of mismanagement and underinvestment. So for us now to be perceived to be an unreliable friend and ally to the United States is concerning. But what I'm most worried about is not what foreign powers like the United States, even if they're our friends, think about the UK. It's how we're doing ourselves to protect our own interests. That is what your GB News viewers will be most concerned about. And if we've got our own base, sovereign territory over in Cyprus, being attacked by Iranian drones, and you've got a Prime Minister who still won't do things, who won't take action, was vacillating, worried about the legal advice that his human rights lawyer mate was sending to him, rather than protecting those troops, their families on that base, then that makes me feel this man just isn't fit to be Prime Minister, isn't suited to the task of being Prime Minister at a time when we're facing such challenges as we are at the moment.
OK, Robert Jenrick, thank you so much for joining us this morning on GB News Breakfast. Thank you for your time.
Thank you.
Well, joining us now is the Defence and Foreign Affairs editor, Con Coughlin. Good morning to you, Con. Just want to pick up on the last points there from Robert Jenrick and the woeful state as well of our defences. Where is the Royal Navy? Not their fault, of course. They've been so depleted. We don't even have missile defence destroyers out there trying to protect the likes of RAF Akrotiri.
Well, that's a good point, Mark, and good morning to you both. I think when Keir Starmer says, he's acting to defend our national interests, then it's a fair question to ask, how's he doing this? And the fact that we are now relying on, as I understand it, 2 Greek frigates and Greek aeroplanes to defend our sovereign base in Cyprus shows you just how out of depth this Prime Minister is, how out of depth this government is, because for weeks, the Americans have been signalling that they were going to take some form of military action against Iran if the nuclear negotiations didn't bear fruit. They've assembled the biggest force seen in the region since the Iraq War. And what have we done? Zero. And as you say, Mark, we've got Type 45 destroyers, some of the most sophisticated warships in the world, that can spot missiles and drones from miles away and take them out. And if Starmer had been seriously interested in defending our national interests, then the very least he could have put one of those in the Mediterranean or closer to the Gulf, but he hasn't.
Con, we heard from the US President yesterday saying and warning that the hardest hits are yet to come. What could we see happen next in this conflict? Are things going to ramp up intensely?
Well, clearly, the one thing we know about Donald Trump, he likes to keep his enemies guessing. And frankly, after what he's done to Ayatollah Khomeini's compound in central Tehran, which is a heavily fortified compound. One report I read said that the Ayatollah had to take a lift for 5 minutes to get down into the heart of the bunker to his safe room. I mean, if they can take something like that out, plus all the nuclear facilities they destroyed last summer, you just wonder what they do have up their sleeve. But I mean, I think what Trump is trying to indicate to what's left of the Iranian regime is there's a lot of American firepower, a lot of American resolve, and they are not going to stop this campaign until the regime and its capabilities, its missile capabilities, its nuclear capabilities have been completely destroyed and no longer pose a threat to the US or its allies in the region.
Can I ask you, we're getting just more breaking news through to GB News just about 50 minutes after a drone infiltration was intercepted over Jerusalem and central Israel. Now more drones, this time being launched from southern Lebanon. That's Hezbollah territory. They've entered the fight now. They're not the force they were. They've been significantly degraded by the Israelis ever since October 7th. But still, it's a worrying development, is it, Con?
It is a worrying development, but it's also Hezbollah basically signing its own death warrant, because there's nothing the Israelis would like more than to completely destroy Hezbollah. I was in Beirut in 1982, I think it was, when they first appeared, and they've been a thorn in Israel's flesh ever since. And the Israelis destroyed a lot, as you said, Mark, they destroyed a lot of their capabilities about 18 months ago. But the fact that Hezbollah is now trying to reopen hostilities with Israel at a time, A, when it's very weak, and B, it can no longer rely on support from Iran, I think is an act of desperation. And also, let's not forget, the Lebanese government is very critical of Hezbollah, and I think we'll be looking to see whether the Iranian authorities this time intervene to stop Hezbollah attacking Israel.
Con, who is in charge of Iran right now, and how long can they keep up this fight? With the Supreme Leader gone, with key officials wiped out, and we know that nuclear facilities have been destroyed or at least severely restricted, how long can they continue fighting in the way that we've seen them do so in the past 3 or 4 days?
Well, Ellie, it's a good question, and I'm not sure anybody really knows for sure who's running Iran, but what we do know is that the Revolutionary Guard, which worked directly to Ayatollah Khamenei and which controls most of the defensive and military resources in Iran, they will have set in motion a plan in the event of being attacked. They would have known that if they were attacked, the Americans and the Israelis would have pursued a decapitation strategy, because that's what they did last summer when they went to war. So they'd have put measures in place basically to set the region alight. And the one thing we need to watch is what they are doing in trying to starve the world of energy resources by closing the Strait of Hormuz. And when Qatar says it's stopping production of liquid gas, which we in the UK rely very heavily on because dear old Ed Miliband's basically closed the North Sea, that should send alarm bells ringing, because that is the way the Iranians can really hurt the West, not through military force, but by starving us of energy.
Con, can I just get your reaction to a bit more of what President Trump has been telling The Sun? It's more humiliation, I think, for this country. He said it's not going to matter, but Sir Keir Starmer, he's talking about, should have helped. He should have. I mean, France has been great. They've all been great. The UK has been much different from others. This is really going to impact, isn't it, our relationship with our closest ally?
Well, frankly, it just says what a lot of us already knows, that we've got a lame duck prime minister who has no ability to lead this country. I mean, I find it very difficult to take him seriously, or his ministers. Heidi Alexander was doing the media round at the weekend saying we put national security first. Well, how? But it is deeply embarrassing. And he said similar sentiments in his interview with the Daily Telegraph yesterday. And I think this could have serious repercussions. The one thing that kept Trump on side in terms of his relationship with the UK was the state visit, his second state visit. And of course, Starmer played that card far too early. And now that state visit is out the way. There won't be another one during his second term. He's a lot freer to say what he really thinks about the Starmer government and what he calls its woke policies on Chagos, its approach, as Robert Jenrick said, to the Revolutionary Guard and not prescribing it. We are the only Western country now that has not prescribed the Revolutionary Guard. And that is an indictment of Starmer and his government.
OK, Con Coughlin, as always, really good to see you. Thank you very much for joining us.
Thank you, Con.
Just as a reminder of those breaking news, if you have just joined us this morning, these lines from US President Trump speaking to the Sun newspaper. He has criticised Sir Keir Starmer directly. He says he's not been helpful. He says, I never thought I'd see that. I never thought I'd see that from the UK. We love the UK. He's also criticised the Chagos Islands deal. He says he calls it the woke island. And as Mark has just reflected there, President Trump was praising France, saying that France has been great in all of this. They've all been great.
Well, France is sending its aircraft carrier group to the region. Where's our carrier? It's in port. OK, it's in a bit of a maintenance period after it was on that deployment around the world, or at least out to the Far East. However, you know, it's back. It can be absolutely deployed within 72 hours is apparently the standard deployment period, but no sign of any Royal Naval vessels being sent down to the region.
Yeah, many saying it's just not good enough. President Trump saying the UK has been much different from the others in their approach to this conflict in the past few days. Let us know what you think on that one, gbnews.com/yoursay.
It's 7:21 and you're listening and watching GB News Breakfast. Here's a weather update.
Expect warm spells with the odd rude interruption. Boxed Boilers sponsors the weather on GB News.
Hello, very good morning to you. I'm here from the Met Office with your GB News weather update. Now, it is a bit of a chilly start for some of us, but through today there's going to be a lot of dry, a lot of sunny weather around for most of us. Not all, because there is a weakening front running across parts of eastern England through the Midlands towards the southwest, bringing a bit more cloud here. There will be a few spots of drizzly rain, but towards the north, across much of northern England, a large chunk of Scotland and also Northern Ireland, it's dry and it's sunny with just a few showers across the far north of Scotland. In the north, temperatures just about scraping into double figures, a bit milder than this towards the south. We're looking at highs of around 14 or 15 Celsius, so feeling relatively warm, particularly if you do get any of that sunshine. Like I said, a few showers across the far north of Scotland, particularly for Orkney and Shetland. These continuing as we go through the evening, but across much of Scotland, Northern Ireland, Northern England, we're ending the day on a largely clear note. That does mean, again, similar to last night, temperatures will drop, and so through the night we are going to see a bit of a frost developing in some places. Meanwhile, across central southern England and Wales, more cloud here, but there will be some breaks around, so some clear spells. And again, where you get the clear spells, we could see temperatures dropping, and there could be some mist, some fog, some murkiness in a few places as well. Towards the northwest of the UK, starting to see some outbreaks of rain pushing their way in. They're going to become more prevalent as we go through the day. As I mentioned, in any clearer spells, we are going to see temperatures taking a bit of a drop, so similar to last night, a bit fresh, perhaps a touch of frost in a few spots. Then through tomorrow, there is more cloud around generally, but many places will see some brightness, some sunshine breaking through at times. And towards the northwest, there'll be some outbreaks of rain, more persistent rain starting to edge its way in later on. That's going to push its way through later on this week. Many areas, though, staying dry through the day, and temperatures tomorrow in the southeast higher than today.
Expect warm spells with the odd rude interruption. Boxed Boilers sponsors the weather on GB News.
Now, do stay with us. Still to come, pressure is on the Chancellor to release an emergency plan. She's set to deliver her spring statement today. We're going to get the very latest on that next with Bill Rammell and Theo Usherwood. That's next on GB News Breakfast with Ellie and Mark.
Hi, I'm Michelle Dewberry, and my show is your opportunity to cut through all the noise and dive in headfirst to some robust debates. Ideas clash.
Situation, isn't it?
No,
Because the failure is...
You're deliberately avoiding my point. Nothing's held back.
And if you think this is the end of it, wait for more.
And we do not shy away from the difficult stuff. Sometimes I want to shake people and say, if only you understood. So join me on Jubes & Co. weeknights at 6 p.m, only on GB News, Britain's news channel.
Exciting news. Every Friday, my Patrick Christie's Tonight Show is going to have a twist to it. We're welcoming some special guests. You. That's right, on Fridays I'm going to be doing my show in front of a live studio audience because this show is about you and what you have to say. It's going to be the same big debates, same big topics, same big opinions, but every Friday night at 9 p.m. you are invited to come on down to Patrick Christie's Tonight to be a part of the action. Only on GB News, the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
From the school run to the home run, watch a new show for all of Britain.
He can say whatever he wants.
A straight-talking show where all voices are heard.
And, you know, when are we going to stop talking about smashing the gangs and actually do it?
With the stories that matter from every part of our country.
There's a bit of a crash landing there for your Chancellor.
Bold, fearless and standing up for you. That's me, Martin Dordme, 3 p.m. till 6 p.m, weekdays, here only on GB News. The People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
Westminster's full of talk, but out here, it's the real world.
Am I allowed to talk
No,
now?
that's it. This is where it matters, real people and real lives. That's what politics is all about.
The fact has Trump made a good start? No.
Straight answers, no spin, and just a couple of pints. How many fingers have I got up?
About 10.
So join me for Lee Anderson's Real World every Friday at 7 p.m, only on GB News. The People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
In the GB newsroom, we bring you the news as it happens.
With our team of dedicated journalists across the UK,
we're ready to keep you up to date with what's happening every half an hour, every single day. Bulletins here on GB News,
the People's Channel,
Britain's news channel.
Britain deserves a newsroom that puts the facts and your voice first.
Well, and that's what you get on GB News. Lively debates, lively conversation.
And we're not afraid to hold power to account.
And each other. So join me, Andrew Pierce.
And me, Miriam Gates, for Britain's Newsroom, weekdays from 9:30 on GB News.
At GB News, we love to hear from you, our loyal community. So drop us a line at gbnews.com/yoursay. There you can talk to each other and also to the presenters live on air. gbnews.com/yoursay, because GB News is your channel, Britain's news channel.
Welcome back. Now today, Rachel Reeves, the Chancellor, is set to double down on her budget as the right economic plan as she confirms her spring statement for the economy.
Well, the Chancellor will speak after the Office for Budget Responsibility publishes its latest assessment of the state of the UK economy following November's budget.
Well, Rachel Reeves is expected to speak on the impact of the escalation of conflict in the Middle East, which has, of course, sparked uncertainty in the UK economy. Well, we're joined now by news editor for the Press Association, Theo Usherwood, and former Labour MP Bill Rammell. Morning, gentlemen. Theo, let's start with you, shall we? And I thought the government had promised to restrict us to just one fiscal event a year.
Yes, in the last hour.
Here we are.
Yeah, in the last hour, I said it was a small fiscal event. It's not actually a fiscal event. A budget is a fiscal event. There will be no red box. There will be no fanfare that usually goes with the budget. It's the Chancellor's chance, really, just to respond to the latest numbers of the Office for Budget Responsibility and to set out the economic forecast for the coming year. And it's been revised down, of course, slightly with the latest numbers. But, you know, there's some good news around inflation and interest rates possibly coming down as well. So were it not for what was happening in the Middle East at the moment, there might be some news for cheer, but as we, in terms of energy bills likely to go up, we've seen the wholesale price of gas go up, pressure when it comes to pressure for families when it comes to the price of petrol and diesel on the forecourt, and there's obviously the plan to press ahead with that increase of 5 pence per litre, staggered between September this year and January next year. So will she relent on that? I imagine she probably will have to.
Bill, we were told this government was all about growth. Where is the growth?
Well, growth is edging up. But look, whatever your politics,
By what? What percentage?
Well, it's up compared to forecast 6 months ago. But whatever your politics, I sometimes feel this government can't get a break. You know, this fiscal statement was going to present an improved economic position. Interest rates coming down, inflation coming down, business and consumer confidence up. The tax receipts in January, 30 billion up, giving significant headroom within the government spending plans. And now we've had Iran and what the Americans and the Israelis have done, massive economic uncertainty, oil prices likely to go through the roof. That will fuel inflation. The government's going to have to grapple with that, but it means what was going to be a very positive economic outlook is now much cloudier.
Maybe all the more reason then for the British government to get stuck in with the Americans, get it done, job done, so we can get back on the right path again in terms of trying to boost our economy.
I think if you take legal advice and the legal advice tells you offensive action would be illegal, then I think it would be reckless and irresponsible to engage in offensive action. And do you know what? The bit within this debate this morning that's not come out into the open is public opinion. I was just looking at an opinion poll in the United States. Only 1 in 4 Americans actually support the US-led military action against Iran. I think the figure in this country, when we see some polling evidence, is likely to be even lower. You know, there is not broad public support for what the Trump administration is leading, because it's not clear-cut, there's not a thought-through plan, it's massively dangerous in terms of the consequences for neighbouring countries, economically for the whole planet, and there's no end game.
Yeah. But isn't that leadership, Bill? To take a decision that isn't necessarily popular and be decisive and to take out a regime that has caused stability over the last generation in the Middle East, and actually take out a despotic regime, so that actually now the Middle East can start to have some chance of rebuilding itself.
Look, I bow to nobody in terms of abhorrence of the Iranian regime. As a foreign minister, I engage with them.
It's not going to happen by wringing our hands on the sidelines.
But you need a thought-through plan. Frankly, you're not going to change Iran. You're not going to enable the Iranian people to take over their country without boots on the ground.
But they've got a better chance than they had 6 months ago.
I don't think they have. You know, there's millions protesting on the streets, supporting the regime. The 150,000 Revolutionary Guard have been emboldened and entrenched by what the Americans have done.
OK, gentlemen, we'll have to leave it there, I'm afraid. Theo Asherwood and Bill Rammell, thank you very much indeed. Do stay with us, because we're going to be speaking to President Isaac Herzog of Israel after this short break.
Thank you for making us Britain's #1 news channel. Together, we have built something truly extraordinary.
Good morning, this is the latest AI travel news from gbnews.com. On the M90 at Ferrytoll, there are lane restrictions around Junction 1B because of a road traffic incident, so allow extra time through the area. In North Yorkshire, a broken-down vehicle is affecting the A19 southbound exit slip to the A170, with one of 2 lanes closed. Normal conditions are expected from 7:30 this morning. And on the trains, South Western Railway has disruption between Guildford and Epsom expected until 8:30 this morning, while South Eastern is reporting disruption at London Charing Cross. For more travel news, go to gbnews.com.
Hi, I'm Michelle Dewberry, and my show is your opportunity to cut through all the noise and dive in headfirst to some robust debates. Ideas clash.
Situation,
no,
isn't it? Because the failure is...
You're deliberately avoiding my point. Nothing's held back.
And if you think this is the end of it, wait for more.
And we do not shy away from the difficult stuff. Sometimes I want to shake people and say, if only you understood. So join me on Jubes & Co weeknights at 6 p.m, only on GB News, Britain's news channel.
5 hosts, 5 opinions, 5 fearless debates, 5 unfiltered takes on the day's news.
5 reasons not to be anywhere else on Saturday night.
This is the Saturday Five. You got me. You got me good there. Britain's biggest Saturday night TV show. It's not a bad brand. Yeah. Uncensored. Very, very racy tonight on the unpredictable. What does she say? Can you translate it for us?
And always entertaining.
And how can a country go from being led by William Wallace Saturday nights from 6 p.m. only on GB News, the People's Channel.
Britain's news channel.
You're going to want to stay tuned, trust me.
From the school run to the home run, watch a new show for all of Britain.
So he can say whatever he wants.
A straight talking show where all voices are heard.
And, you know, when are we going to stop talking about smashing the gangs and actually do it?
With the stories that matter from every part of our country.
There's a bit of a crash landing there for your Chancellor.
Bold, fearless and standing up for you. That's me, Martin Dordme, 3 p.m. till 6 p.m. weekdays here only on GB News. The People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
Britain deserves a newsroom that puts the facts and your voice first.
Well, and that's what you get on GB News. Lively debates, lively conversation.
And we're not afraid to hold power to account.
And each other. So join me, Andrew Pearce.
And me, Miriam Cates, for Britain's Newsroom, weekdays from 9:30 on GB News.
Welcome back to Breakfast. Just want to bring you this breaking news. This is the Reuters news agency reporting that the Israeli military has deployed additional forces to southern Lebanon. This is it's been described as defensive positions to protect Israeli civilians and strategic sites from any potential Hezbollah attack. A lieutenant has spoken to the news agency saying, we're only at the borderline area in a defensive manner, and it will be to prevent attacks against civilians.
A few other breaking lines, because we've been seeing sort of a number of drone incursions into Israel today as well. The latest into northern Israel, we think, from southern Lebanon. That would be Iran's proxy Hezbollah in that region, which has, of course, been severely degraded by the Israelis, but it still poses a threat. I want to bring you another line that's of interest, though. France says it plans to send anti-missile and anti-drone systems to Cyprus to help protect the island and, of course, the RAF base at Akrotiri here. No word that our own military is doing likewise at that stage.
So is that now the Greek and the French both protecting Cyprus?
Well, it seems so, yes.
And it seems not the British. But anyway, we'll keep you posted on any of those developing lines throughout the programme.
Right. Well, we can now welcome President Isaac Herzog of Israel, who joins us now. Good morning to you, Mr. President. Thank you very much for speaking to us on GB News this morning.
It's a pleasure. Thank you very much.
Can I just ask you about the ongoing operations? We're now 4 days in to this. We heard from Marco Rubio yesterday, the Secretary of State in the US, saying the worst may yet, still may still be coming. How long is this operation, do you think, likely to last?
So first, let's put the historical context in a larger vision. You see, the Middle East has been a constantly, turbulent and ever unresting because of an empire of evil that emanates from Iran and has its proxies all over the region and terror cells all over the world. It was Prime Minister Starmer who said just recently that they've identified about 20 potential attacks on Britain. Okay, and you ask yourself, why would Iran attack Britain? Because they do that all over the world, because that empire of evil wants to eradicate all of us. It wants to eradicate modern Muslims. It wants to eradicate Christians. It has a vision, a jihadist vision. And that is what President Trump realized as part of an inherent national security interest, meaning this empire of evil will not rest until you cut its wings and make sure that there's a different vision for the region with a different reality in Tehran, without their ballistic missiles and potential nuclear program and without their proxies all over the region. Now, what we're seeing now is Following the first few days, we're seeing Hezbollah from Lebanon joining the war, when we made clear that we will not accommodate any such activity, and it may flare up in the Lebanese frontier as well. And we're seeing drone warfare and missiles launched at Akrotiri base, which is a British base for years, a very important base in the Middle East, protecting British security interests. And I think that Europe and its allies should have been very loud and clear about this step. And you're seeing the Iranians attacking all the regional states, the very important allies and friends in the region who want to pursue peace with us. That's where we're at.
Mr. President, how close was Iran to acquiring a nuclear weapon? You have long perceived it to be an existential threat to Israel and to the West. But what made you strike on Saturday? How close did you believe they were to acquiring this nuclear weapon?
So just to make clear, I'm the head of state without executive powers, but I'm fully updated. And there was information shared, very disturbing information shared between the United States, Israel, and other allies, showing that Iran in other areas and sites decided to rush to the bomb, as well as to move towards 20,000 stockpile of ballistic missiles.
President Herzog, could I just ask you, in light of what you said about the obvious threat posed by Iran, the 20 plots that were foiled here in the UK, the attacks on the bases in Bahrain and at RAF Akrotiri, are you surprised, are you disappointed by the stance of the British government and Sir Keir Starmer?
So I'm not going into politics in Britain, but I want to make clear, where's our view? We do not seek war. We seek peace. We seek partnerships with our neighbors. There are incredible things that are happening in this partnership. But because of that, Iran has done everything possible to derail any peace process and to derail any relationship that can bring a future of peace in the region. It has taken all its people's money and efforts and hard work of brilliant Iranian citizens and turned it into a terrible war machine of bloodshed and terror and hatred all over the world. It has mowed and killed and butchered tens of thousands of Iranian citizens only recently because it's a brutal regime. And that is where we're at now. Now, to think that it will be only in our region, it will be only between Israel and Iran or United States and Iran, and won't touch Europe is an illusion, because their grand vision is to attack Europe and attack the free world and attack all those infidels who don't believe in what they believe in. This is the grand vision. So under such circumstances, you have to be very tough and clear. If British bases were attacked, and if British base was attacked on a soil of an EU member state, that has repercussions. And I think it must be very clear by British leadership and European leadership.
Mr. President, what is the core objective of this military operation beyond degrading Iranian nuclear capabilities? You'd like to see regime change, but what would you like that to be? What would you like to replace the regime with? I suppose I'm asking, what is Israel's vision for the Middle East after this operation?
Well, we are not dictating, God forbid, to the Iranian people how their regime should look like. Well, I think what was made clear is that we are bringing them a possibility to take their fate in their hands. Millions and millions and tens of millions who are demanding change. I was extremely moved to see the incredible scene in London, in the streets of London, of Iranian expats celebrating, hugging and kissing Israelis in London, wishing for a different future and horizon and a day of peace between Jew and Muslim in the entire Middle East. And that's what we want to get to. And that's what should be. We are all children of Abraham. And that's what should be with Christians, Jews, and Muslims all over the world. But for that, sometimes you have to take harsh steps. And that's where we're at in this very historical junction.
There have been some reports that the American administration might be willing to negotiate with remnants of the Iranian regime. Would that, in your opinion, be acceptable to the many, many Iranians who are out there on the streets demanding change? Would they accept still remnants of that regime in charge? Would Israel accept that potential?
I cannot speak for the Iranian people. I think, each society has its own ways of moving forward. Right now, we should not be illusionary about the fact that the current regime in Tehran does not let go. They're extremely brutal and aggressive. That's why they're taking all these steps in order to scare everybody, send missiles all over the place, try to close the Hormuz Straits and so forth. But if one stands up to them clearly, I think one can overcome and bring a huge historic change, huge historic change to the people of Iran and the people of the Middle East and the world at large. And it is the call of duty of the free world to stand up and say to the Iranian regime, enough is enough. You won't spread all these terror cells all over the world. God damn it, you'll stop it. There's no reason why you should have a terror cell in Australia or in Brazil or in Britain or anywhere else. You are not going to do that anymore. You're not going to rush to the bomb and you're not going to send missiles all over the place. It's about time that this is over. And that's what the free world needs to say and echo out loud and actually support President Trump in his huge decision.
Now, I know you don't, as you said, want to delve too much into the politics, but forgive me, I'm going to try and push you on this. Do you want the British government and the British military to join Israel and the US in this fight?
So I won't fall into your question because I know my boundaries, but I think it's a moment of truth for leaders in the free world, and Britain is a top leader in the free world. Honestly, we know and we share a lot of interest together for many years, and I think the picture is very clear. I won't go further than that because it's not a decision for us to take.
OK, Mr. President, thank you very much for joining us this morning on GB News Breakfast. We're very grateful for your time.
Thank you so much.
Well, joining us now is former Conservative MP Anna Firth and Deputy Editor of The Spectator, Freddie Grainer. Anna, could you hear that interview with the President of Israel? I know Freddie couldn't.
Yes, I could hear, yes,
so
I could hear most of it.
What did you make of what he was saying there?
Well, I mean, I think he's given us, a very helpful, up-to-date summary there. I was quite surprised, actually, that he didn't say that they would welcome the UK support. I mean, President Trump has been much, much clearer in saying how disappointed he is, how slow the UK has been to support this effort. And as you know, I think we've made a big mistake in not agreeing with Trump and the Canadians and the Australians and the French right at the beginning in supporting these efforts and letting the Americans use our bases. I thought it was interesting about the future of Iran, and I really think this is where we need to be focusing our conversation now, because Trump is clearly going to finish the job. Keir Starmer needs to think very clearly and quickly, what is his role here? His role is to protect our British interests. That means we must be involved in the solution to the region. And that means we must start to take a view on how we let the Iranian people take control of their country. And that means there's got to be a transition, and they've got to have a referendum to decide what type of regime do they want to have. And there are various possibilities, of course. We've got the Crown Prince Pahlavi already making manoeuvres in Washington, but you've also got Madame Rajavi, the leader of the MEK, the People's Movement for Iran. So there are various possibilities. But if the Iranians are going to really have a choice, they have to have a referendum, and then somebody has got to oversee that process.
Freddie, sorry, you couldn't hear the president.
It was cutting in and out.
We had intermittent hearing.
Intermittent, yeah.
Can we ask you just on some breaking lines and
yes,
coming
of course.
through? The French Foreign Ministry saying that they're going to send these defensive weapons to take down drones and missiles for use in Cyprus.
Yes.
We've got the Hellenic Navy sending frigates and planes there as well. The French also saying that they are going to put military flights on to take some of their 400,000 nationals in the region out of there immediately. People are on the front foot. We appear to be on the back foot.
Well, I mean, do you remember going back to Iraq when, of course, French were the cheese-eating surrender monkeys and so on?
Not any longer.
Who's the cheese? I think
ministry.
the danger for Keir Starmer is, I'm sure, he was going to be accused of being the cheese-eating surrender monkey this time. I mean, I think with the French and the military, their kit is bigger and more active at the moment than ours. And I think this is a big problem. You're the expert on this, Mark. The British military is not in a position to do serious deployments. I mean, yes, we do have...
It could if the sort of the political masters were willing and they moved heaven and earth, they could reactivate certain units that are in refit. They could get done, and they certainly could get with the RAF, for instance. We have a heavy lift capacity with, our transport aircraft out of the likes of Bryce Norton that could get down there and could... I mean, that might happen, but we've just got no word as yet, and that's, I think, what's concerning many people.
Well, and the French, the French military in North Africa have been more active, and the Navy too. So I do think the French are perhaps better at reacting in terms of hard power. While in terms of soft power and in Europe, Starmer and Europe are in a similar position in terms of their rhetorical positioning on this. They're uncomfortable with the legality of it. That may be a nonsense, but that's what they're saying. And they're uncomfortable with the politics of it, because as far as European leaders were concerned, as far as the Labour top team were concerned, negotiations were still being pursued. The last word from the talks in Geneva was that negotiations would be continued next week. Now, of course, the British government had a clear idea that America was about to strike, but they had not, it seems, they were not looped in on the final decision-making process. And that's why you're hearing European leaders sounding quite offended, sounding a bit defensive about this, sounding a bit confused. But they're particularly concerned about energy, of course, because that is the big
thing I find rather baffling about this is, if you are one of only 5 members of the United Nations Security Council, if you actually had the presidency of that council, which we do at the moment, you would think your armed forces would be available, within hours, within days, certainly not needing weeks. And yet it seems all of our armed forces are in port, they're undergoing maintenance, they're not available. That's a fundamental failing, isn't it, of this government?
And we knew about this threat.
Yes. We've seen this.
So why weren't we more prepared?
And all the time that I was in Parliament, which is now a couple of years ago already, the Iranian threat was mounting, and so was the pressure within Iran for regime change. Ever since that brutal murder of Mahsa Amini, the people in Iran have been rising up and saying they've had enough. So therefore, if you are a significant player in world peace, as we always used to be, then a conflict's coming, you should be prepared for it.
I mean, I think there are lots of questions. Is Britain a serious nation anymore? There's the military aspect, which is very debatable. There's also the energy aspect. France has nuclear power, so it will be able to survive. I mean, it will suffer, but it will be able to survive a massive energy price shock. Britain is so exposed on an energy price shock.
We've got some wind farms. Come on,
We've got some wind farms, yeah. But we have no...
We've effectively shut off the North Sea.
We effectively shut off the North Sea. We are massively dependent on Qatar and LNG, gas and so on. That's just...
Which could be a problem now.
We have you're absolutely right, Freddie. We have a deficit in money terms of £250 billion in energy every single year. So we need to close that, be more self-sufficient.
Thank you, Anna. Thank you, Freddie.
And we'll be back after this short break.
Warm and cosy, with a chance of zero visibility. Boxed Boiler sponsors the weather on GB News.
Hello, very good morning to you. I'm here from the Met Office with your GB News weather update. Now, it is a bit of a chilly start for some of us, but through today there's going to be a lot of dry, a lot of sunny weather around for most of us. Not all, because there is a weakening front running across parts of eastern England through the Midlands towards the southwest, bringing a bit more cloud here. There will be a few spots of drizzly rain, but towards the north, across much of northern England, a large chunk of Scotland and also Northern Ireland, it's dry and it's sunny with just a few showers across the far north of Scotland. In the north, temperatures just about scraping into double figures, a bit milder than this towards the south. We're looking at highs of around 14 or 15 Celsius, so feeling relatively warm, particularly if you do get any of that sunshine. Like I said, a few showers across the far north of Scotland, particularly for Orkney and Shetland. These continuing as we go through the evening, but across much of Scotland, Northern Ireland, Northern England, we're ending the day on a largely clear note. That does mean, again, similar to last night, temperatures will drop, and so through the night we are going to see a bit of a frost developing in some places. Meanwhile, across central southern England and Wales, more cloud here, but there will be some breaks around, so some clear spells. And again, where you get the clear spells, we could see temperatures dropping, and there could be some mist, some fog, some murkiness in a few places as well. Towards the northwest of the UK, starting to see some outbreaks of rain pushing their way in. They're going to become more prevalent as we go through the day. As I mentioned, in any clearer spells, we are going to see temperatures taking a bit of a drop, so similar to last night, a bit fresh, perhaps a touch of frost in a few spots. Then through tomorrow, there is more cloud around generally, but many places will see some brightness, some sunshine breaking through at times, and towards the northwest, there'll be some outbreaks of rain, more persistent rain starting to edge its way in later on. That's going to push its way through later on this week. Many areas, though, staying dry through the day, and temperatures tomorrow in the southeast higher than today.
Warm and cosy, with a chance of zero visibility. Boxed Boiler sponsors the weather on GB News.
Thank you to our global community for watching and listening to GB News. We're not only the #1 news channel in Britain, we're chosen by you around the world.
Good morning, this is the latest AI travel news from gbnews.com. On the M77 northbound, the slip road at Barhead is partly blocked by a broken down vehicle at the end of the on-slip. On the M4 eastbound, there is heavy congestion between junction 27 at High Cross and junction 24 at Coldra. In North Yorkshire, the A19 southbound exit slip to the A170 has a broken down vehicle with one lane closed, expected to clear between 8:15 and 8:30 this morning. And on the trains, South Western Railway has disruption between Guildford and Epsom until 8:30 this morning, while South Eastern reports disruption at London Charing Cross. For more travel news, go to gbnews.com.
A camper van and cash could be yours in our very latest Great British Giveaway. You could be driving away in this brand new Benavan 122. This 2026 model, worth over £67,000, comes with all of the mod cons you'd expect. And that's not all, as you'll also get an incredible £25,000 in tax-free cash to boost your bank account this year. For a chance to win a camper van and cash, text prize to 63225. One entry costs £2.50 plus one standard network rate message, or text bonus to 63225. 5 entries cost £5 plus one standard network rate message. Go to gbnews.com/win. Entry starts at £2.50. Call 0903 686 3232. Calls cost £2.50 plus your network access charge, or post your name and number to GB20 PO Box 8690 Derby DE1 9TT. Entrance must be 18 or over. Lines close at 4 p.m. on the 1st of May. Please check the closing time if listening or watching on demand.
Join me, Nana Akwe, for an informative, interactive news programme with a difference. It's fun.
No, he didn't say that, Dave.
I'm so surprised.
I think there's an element of truth to that.
Join me from 3 p.m. every weekend, only on GB News, Britain's news channel.
In the GB Newsroom, we bring you the news as it happens.
With our team of dedicated journalists across the UK.
We're ready to keep you up to date with what's happening every half an hour, every single day. Bulletins here on GB News.
The People's Channel.
Britain's news channel.
At GB News, we love to hear from you, our loyal community. So drop us a line at gbnews.com/yoursay. There you can talk to each other and also to the presenters live on air. gbnews.com/yoursay, because GB News is your channel, Britain's news channel.
A really important thing about GB News, and it's brought something completely different to the landscape.
The mainstream is all about keeping the status quo as it is, ticking along quite nicely. They don't want to ask difficult questions.
GB News exists because there is a desperate need for fearless journalism that puts the people first.
GB News came on the scene as a disruptor, and it has always been a disruptor ever since.
Journalism in this country has been a cosy world full of groupthink until now.
Well, the reality is that most British journalists are afraid. That's not GB News.
Journalism is journalism at the end of the day, and we're not here to serve any masters. Our masters are our audience.
We're here to talk about things in a way that have never been broadcast on British airways before.
Do not miss a moment on GB News.
The #1 news channel in the country.
Good morning. President Trump launches a fresh attack on Sir Keir Starmer. Is the special relationship in peril?
Well, the US President warned the Prime Minister that the UK is pandering to Muslim voters by not backing his war against Iran, saying Britain is not such a recognisable country anymore.
Well, this comes as the US warns Iran that a big wave of strikes is coming, suggesting that their military campaign on Tehran is only just beginning.
Speaking to GB News a short while ago, Israel's President Isaac Herzog urged Western leaders to do more in the face of ongoing Iranian aggression.
I think it's a moment of truth for leaders in the free world, and Britain is a top leader in the free world. Honestly, we know and we share a lot of interest together for many years, and I think the picture is very clear.
The first flights from Abu Dhabi landed in Heathrow last night, but what is going to be done about the estimated hundreds of thousands of stranded Brits who may want to leave the region? We're going to be speaking with some of those Brits who are stranded later on in the programme.
Meanwhile, there are growing concerns about global oil and gas supplies as Iran warns they'd burn any ship trying to pass through the key Straits of Hormuz.
Elsewhere today, the Chancellor, Rachel Reeves, is under pressure to release an emergency plan amid the escalating tensions in the Middle East. She's set to deliver her spring statement.
Yes, well, the Treasury is saying not to expect any rabbits pulled out of any hats today. But could all the forecasts and projections that the Chancellor will unveil this lunchtime all be obsolete because of the escalating situation in the Middle East?
Yes, it's a bit of a chilly start out there for many of us, but with lots of dry, lots of sunny weather around today, it really is going to feel like spring has sprung. Stick around for the details.
Good morning. It's just gone 8 o'clock. I'm Ellie Costello.
And I'm Mark White, and this is GB News Breakfast.
We've got some breaking news and developments, haven't we, Mark?
Well, yes, just in terms of what the French have said, they are now going to send missile and drone defence systems to Cyprus to help defend our base at RAF Akrotiri. This, of course, coming after the Hellenic Navy, the Greek Navy, said that they would be sending 2 frigates, also some warplanes to aid in the protection of RAF Akrotiri. All the while, of course, our own Royal Navy is nowhere to be seen in the Mediterranean or indeed in the Persian Gulf region. No fault, I think, of the Royal Navy, but they have not been requested, it seems, by our political leaders, as yet anyway, to head down there.
And we've also had this breaking news in the past hour or so. It is the US president warning Sir Keir Starmer that the UK is pandering to Muslim voters by not backing his war against Iran. President Trump said that Britain is not such a recognisable country anymore.
Well, the shock broadside comes as the US warns Iran that a big wave of strikes is coming, suggesting that their military campaign on Tehran is only just beginning.
Well, we're joined now by defence analyst and retired British Army officer Colonel Simon Diggins. Very good morning to you, Colonel Simon. Shall we start with this news about France and Greece now defending Cyprus? How humiliating is that for Britain?
I think it is humiliating because, frankly, we've probably got the equipment ourselves if it was available to go down there and defend our own interests. And I think that's the key thing. This is our national security interests. You know, these aren't just military bases. This is British sovereign-based territory. In other words, it is as sovereign as Cornwall, Scotland, or wherever it happens to be, and we're not defending it ourselves properly.
And it's come under attack from
Absolutely.
not one but two drones.
Yeah.
One impacted the runway. That is, you know, effectively an act of war against our sovereign base there. Why are we still so reluctant to do anything other than taking to the skies outside of Iran?
I think because the way we set ourselves up, in other words, we set ourselves up not to support President Trump and Israel in, I think, their entirely justified attack on Iran, and we're in catch-up mode ever since. The Iranians are always going to lash out. I mean, their battle cry is always death to America, but their second battle cry is death to England or death to Britain. In other words, we are seen as much as their enemy as the Americans are seen as. So, of course, they're going to react. Of course, they're going to lash out as they've done through the Gulf states, firing at all the countries amongst the Gulf, and, of course, they're going to attack us as well.
What military options do we have on the table right now?
Well, I think very limited. I've obviously got an overview of the Orbat itself, but the obvious thing to do would be have a sort of Type 45 destroyer down there. They're very effective, very good air defence destroyers. We have got some aircraft down there in the Gulf already, and I think we're moving down some of our ground-based air defence. But the real issue we've got is we've got ourselves in a situation with our military so limited, so hollowed out, that it's very difficult to get the kind of numbers we down there to try and do something, let alone something more proactive and actually attack the Iranian regime and deal with them a blow they can't recover from.
How, bearing in mind what President Trump has said again today, the second day running, it was the Telegraph yesterday, the Sun today having a real pop at Sir Keir Starmer. How damaging is this to the relationship between the US and the UK at the moment?
It is damaging. I mean, there have been occasions in the past where America's done something we haven't necessarily agreed with. And I can think right back to you know, whether it be to Grenada in '83, where the Americans tried to do something and did, and we opposed. In fact, Margaret Thatcher opposed them. But on all substantive issues since then, we've always been absolutely alongside them. And I think the real sadness is we actually agree with the US analysis of Iran. I mean, there are government spokesman statements saying Iran must not be allowed to acquire a nuclear weapon and it's a destabilising influence. If that's the end, so we've got to stop that, and that's the government says we've got to stop that. If that's the end, what we're trying to do, then to not provide the means, in other words, how are you going to do it, seems to me a completely absurd and hypocritical position. And I think that's where we're in.
And finally, what have you made of Sir Keir Starmer's handling of this escalation in the Middle East? I mean, he seems to be walking this legal tightrope at the moment.
Yeah, I think the legal tightrope is just an excuse. It's a fig leaf. I mean, other countries, Australia, Canada, have looked at the evidence, looked at the situation with Iran, and have come to a completely different conclusion, as indeed have the US. So I'm afraid I don't accept it at all.
OK, Colonel Simon Diggins, thank you very much indeed for speaking to us at GB News Breakfast. Well, let's head now and speak to the Shadow Home Secretary, Chris Philp. Good morning to you, Mr Philp. In terms of what we heard in the comments yesterday, we had the Prime Minister, he seems tying himself in legal knots again in terms of how far we could go, how far we wouldn't go. This is damaging, isn't it, in terms of our relationship with our closest ally?
Yeah, it's very damaging for the United Kingdom. Once again, Keir Starmer has revealed himself to be a weak lawyer and not a leader, more interested in Lord Hermer, the Attorney General's very expansive views of international law, instead of standing up for our national interest, instead of supporting our long-term ally, the United States of America, and failing to take a stand against Iran, a murderous regime that has slaughtered 30,000 of its own people in just the last couple of weeks, has sponsored terrorism around the world, including supporting Hamas to slaughter 1,200 innocent Israeli people, murdered, raped and kidnapped, and even sponsored terrorist acts on our own soil here in the UK. And of course the Iranian regime was also trying to get itself a nuclear weapon. And instead of standing up against that, instead of supporting the Americans, as our Australian and Canadian allies did, instead of supporting America, Keir Starmer just sat back and refused to let them use British military bases. He seemed to think somehow actually supporting the Iranian regime was more important than supporting America. That was a disgraceful decision by Keir Starmer. It was weak, and it just goes to show that he is no leader at all when it comes to standing up strongly for Britain's national interest on the international stage and standing up strongly against terrorist regimes like Iran. Keir Starmer got this once again very badly wrong because he is a weak lawyer, not a leader.
Could I just ask you briefly, you mentioned Lord Hermer there. There are these reports that he was actually in the Commons chamber looking down upon the Prime Minister as he delivered that statement in the Commons. Were you there, Chris, and did you see Lord Hermer?
Yes, I was. I was on the front bench when the statement was made yesterday, when the Prime Minister made the statement and when Kemi gave a very good response. But I'm afraid my eyes were in the chamber. I was looking at Starmer just a few feet away and then listening to Kemi's response. I wasn't looking in the gallery, so I'm afraid I didn't notice whether or not Hermer was up there. But it is pretty clear that Lord Hermer is pulling Keir Starmer's strings, whether it comes to things like this Iranian debacle or the weak approach the government's taking to borders, where they're allowing illegal immigrants to flood into the country on small boats. It's pretty clear to me that Lord Hermer is pulling Keir Starmer's strings, which is why he is making so many terrible mistakes, whether it's Iran or whether it's our borders.
Yeah, we don't blame you being fixated, obviously, on Keir Starmer and his commanding presence.
Mr. Philp, you alluded to this in your first answer, but how concerned are you about the security level and the security threats in this country? We know about 20 Iranian-backed plots foiled in the past few years in Britain. So how concerned are you about that as a threat in the wake of what we're seeing in the Middle East? And we are, I believe, now the only Western country that hasn't prescribed the IRGC. Does that need to happen now?
Yes, it does. In my view, we should definitely proscribe, that is to say ban, the IRGC, the Iranian Revolutionary Guard Corps, which is a band of murderous thugs who essentially control Iran on behalf of the Ayatollahs, but they also export terrorism around the world. They're the ones who support terrorist groups like Hamas and Hezbollah, and they have also sponsored repression here on our own soil in the UK and terrorist plots, as you said a second ago. So I'm very concerned about the wider security threat that Iran poses in the region and also here in the UK. If Iran ever got a nuclear weapon, that would be a disaster for global security, because they are a rogue state. They've attacked shipping in the Straits of Hormuz, which is a critical shipping lane that takes oil out of the Gulf around the wider world. In fact, they're claiming they've shut it down even as we speak, but they've attacked shipping there before as well. So there's no doubt in my mind Iran poses an enormous threat to their own people, who they've been murdering recently in the thousands. They pose a threat to the region, and they pose a threat to the wider world as well. And that is why I think in those circumstances, the action the Americans took was justified.
Yeah. And just finally, Mr. Philp, how should the government be dealing with the 102,000 Brits who have registered with the Foreign Office of their presence in the Gulf, in the Middle East, who would potentially like to be brought home? But there are estimates that there are 300,000 Brits in the region. Should we be doing more to get them safely back here to Britain when you see the evacuation order from the US yesterday and those flights from the Gulf to the US last night? And France, in the past hour or so, has said that they are going to start to fly back French nationals who are most at risk. Do we need to be doing more?
Yes, the government does need to be doing more. Once again, the Labour government have been asleep at the wheel. They should be stepping up efforts to provide evacuation options for British citizens who are in the region. We've seen British citizens, for example, in Dubai have Iranian drones like smashing in, I think it was an apartment or a hotel where they were staying. So there is clearly a threat. And the British government, the Labour government, needs to be stepping up efforts to extract, to evacuate British citizens who feel they are under risk.
OK, Chris Philp, thank you very much for joining us this morning. I appreciate it.
Thank you very much indeed. It does seem as though the UK government is on the back foot with the evacuation orders. When you can see the US had those evacuation orders last night, those flights were already taking off. France doing the same thing today. And yet the UK government's position seems to be, well, we'll just wait for airspace to reopen and we'll rely on commercial airlines to get everybody home.
And it might be that actually the airspace, depending on what happens with Iran, doesn't open in some key locations for quite some time. And that then presents a problem. Do you then try to move people to ports, get them out by shipping? But as we've been saying, there are no Royal Naval assets in the region. Our landing support ships that the Royal Marines used to such good effect, HMS Bulwark and HMS Albion, have been decommissioned or sold off.
Well, we'll keep you across all of these lines throughout the programme this morning. Do let us know what you think on any of this. gbnews.com/yoursay.
Right, well, joining us now from Tel Aviv is the former advisor to Israel's Minister of Defence, Joshua Hantman. Good morning, Joshua.
Good morning, Mark. Good morning, Ellie. Thank you very much for having me on this morning.
Can you just bring us up to speed with what is happening in Israel at the moment? There were a couple of drone incursions this morning that we've seen so far, but actually the sort of tempo of certainly the missile strikes from Iran has really slowed down. Big gaps now between that. Does that indicate, do you think, that the Israelis and the Americans are really now having the positive effect that they want to on taking out these launchers?
So we're still under rocket fire, missile fire, both ballistic missiles coming in from Iran, but also last night Hezbollah in the north, in South Lebanon, which is an Iranian proxy, also committed to Israel's destruction and the destruction of the West. They decided to join in as well, sending over missiles and drones into Israel. But let's be clear, the Islamic Republic is receiving an absolute hiding right now from the Americans and from the Israelis. And that is why the tempo is much slower even than the 12-day war we saw back in June. The people of Israel here, unfortunately, are now in their third year of war against Iran and against Iran's proxies, a 7-front war. My kids are at home with no school. They're used to the bomb shelters. They're used to the explosions. And the people of Israel are extremely resilient, extremely strong. If you look at the scenes in Tel Aviv, in the underground stations, it's reminiscent of the Blitz, the community spirit, the people coming together and understanding that this isn't a war of choice. It's a war of necessity. We have to stand up to the most dangerous regime of our time, because this really isn't a war against Israel. This is a war against the West. And the Islamic Republic, if they're to develop nuclear weapons combined with their intercontinental ballistic missiles, let's be clear, the intercontinental part suggests that it's not for us. It's for you guys. It's for America. It's for Europe. And the Iranians have shown once again that they are out of control, firing at even some of their former friends. Qatar, across the region, everyone is getting hit by these Iranian drones. It's a totalitarian Islamo-fascist regime. And I'm proud actually to hear the Shadow Home Secretary really express some true moral clarity there, because many in the West and especially in Europe seem to have forgotten just who this fight is against. You know, this Iranian regime, they hang gays from cranes. They stone women for not wearing their veil. They, just a few weeks ago, massacred over 35,000 pro-democracy protesters in the space of 2 days. They ripped the wombs out of the female protesters to hide the sexual atrocities before returning the bodies back to their families. This is the most despicable regime of our time, and the entire West needs to stand up and take a stand.
Well, on that note, what have you made of Sir Keir Starmer's stance towards all of this? We've been describing it this morning as a legal tightrope or tying himself up in legal knots. Would you like to see Britain do more to support Israel, to support the US against Iran?
I don't think it's to support Israel or the US. Honestly, Winston Churchill once said that appeasement is like feeding the crocodile and hoping he'll eat you last. Well, the fact is the Iranian regime is showing that they're happy to eat up all of the region. Like I said, they're developing intercontinental ballistic missiles, not for us, but for Europe, for the US. And, you know, it's time that everyone stepped up and realized that this really is a war of necessity, not a war of choice. You know, I brought actually a photo for you guys. This is my grandfather in his RAF uniform. My grandfather stood up and fought against the Nazis, while his wife, my grandmother, was working in a tank factory. It feels like today's generation in much of the West don't have that stomach to fight anymore. And actually, I don't want my children to fight. I don't want my friends to fight. Here in Israel, and now the US have shown that we cannot stay silent in the face of this tyranny, of this Islamofascism that really is spreading. It's spreading and it's dangerous, and they're attacking the moderate Muslim states, our allies and friends all across the region. This isn't about Islam. This is about an extreme, dangerous, expansionist form of Shia Islam, which is taking over the region. And again, just hear what they say. This isn't a secret.
Joshua, just finally, Joshua, what would your grandfather, that former RAF man, make of our current government stance on this issue?
I think he would have been extremely disappointed. I think he would see it as very short-sighted, and I think he would be much more inclined with Winston Churchill's line. You can't feed the crocodile and just hope he's going to eat you last, because eventually he'll eat you too.
OK. Joshua Handman, really good to have you with us here on GB News Breakfast. Thank you so much for your time.
Thank you.
Thank you, Ellie. Thank you, Mark.
Thank you. Now at 20 minutes past 8, let's get a check on your weather with Alex Burkill.
Warm and cosy, with a chance of zero visibility. Boxed Boiler sponsors the weather on GB News.
Hello, very good morning to you. I'm here from the Met Office with your GB News weather update. Now, it is a bit of a chilly start for some of us, but through today there's going to be a lot of dry, a lot of sunny weather around for most of us. Not all, because there is a weakening front running across parts of eastern England through the Midlands towards the southwest, bringing a bit more cloud here. There will be a few spots of drizzly rain, but towards the north, across much of northern England, a large chunk of Scotland and also Northern Ireland, it's dry and it's sunny, with just a few showers across the far north of Scotland. In the north, temperatures just about scraping into double figures, a bit milder than this towards the south. We're looking at highs of around 14 or 15 Celsius, so feeling relatively warm, particularly if you do get any of that sunshine. Like I said, a few showers across the far north of Scotland, particularly for Orkney and Shetland. These continuing as we go through the evening, but across much of Scotland, Northern Ireland, Northern England, we're ending the day on a largely clear note. That does mean, again, similar to last night, temperatures will drop, and so through the night we are going to see a bit of a frost developing in some places. Meanwhile, across central southern England and Wales, more cloud here, but there will be some breaks around, so some clear spells. And again, where you get the clear spells, we could see temperatures dropping, and there could be some mist, some fog, some murkiness in a few places as well. Towards the northwest of the UK, starting to see some outbreaks of rain pushing their way in. They're going to become more prevalent as we go through the day. As I mentioned, in any clearer spells, we are going to see temperatures taking a bit of a drop, so similar to last night, a bit fresh, perhaps a touch of frost in a few spots. Then through tomorrow, there is more cloud around generally, but many places will see some brightness, some sunshine breaking through at times. And towards the northwest, there will be some outbreaks of rain, more persistent rain starting to edge its way in later on. That's going to push its way through later on this week. Many areas, though, staying dry through the day, and temperatures tomorrow in the southeast higher than today.
Warm and cosy, with a chance of zero visibility. Boxed Boiler sponsors the weather on GB News.
Now, do stay with us. Still to come here on GB News Breakfast. Pressure is on the Chancellor to release an emergency plan as she's set to deliver her spring statement today. We're going to get the latest on that next.
Bold. They are under no illusion. Ray. Are you a human trafficker? Boundless. I've had enough of the nonsense, and I'm not afraid to say it.
Don't get us on a BBC.
Every weeknight, I tear through the headlines.
The smell of gasoline.
Should we be worried about it? From Westminster madness to cultural war chaos.
What we're going to do now is they are throwing things out the car as we speak.
Get ready, Britain. Here we go. Patrick Christie tonight, weeknights from 9 p.m. only on GB News, Britain's news channel.
Britain's newsroom, weekday mornings from 9:30.
Foreign Office has urged Britons in Mexico to remain indoors and avoid unnecessary travel amid a surge of violence following the death of a drug cartel leader. Our Home and Security Editor, Mark White, joins us in the studio. I mean, these are very, very heavily touristy places in Mexico. We've got the World Cup there very soon. What a situation.
Yes, there are real concerns, of course, about the thousands of Brits and other foreign nationals who are in Mexico at the moment. But as you say, in a few months' time, looking ahead to the World Cup and the many, many thousands of people that will be there during that period. Now, this all follows the operation that took place over the weekend in which the head of one of Mexico's most powerful drug cartels was killed. That's Nemesio Ruben Osequero Cervantes,
well pronounced,
otherwise known as El Mencho. El Mencho was head of this cartel that, along with the Sinaloa cartel, the two most powerful drug cartels in Mexico, responsible for so much of the violence that sees, on average now, 55 people murdered every single day in Mexico as a result of the war between the cartels. Well, of course, now this has been, as you can see by the images on screen, very significantly upgraded in terms of the violence now out in states right across Mexico as this cartel, the Jalisco cartel that El Mencho was in charge of.
GB News, the People's Channel.
Hi, I'm Michelle Dewberry, and my show is your opportunity to cut through all the noise and dive in headfirst to some robust debates. Ideas clash.
Situation,
no,
isn't it?
No,
because the failure is
you're deliberately avoiding my point. Nothing's held back.
And if you think this is the end of it, wait for more.
And we do not shy away from the difficult stuff. Sometimes I want to shake people and say, if only you understood. So join me on Jubes & Co. weeknights at 6 p.m. only on GB News, Britain's news channel.
A couple of pieces of breaking news, important developments to bring you. A number of incursions by Israeli ground troops taking place in southern Lebanon, and also reports that the Lebanese army, of course, who are not involved in this fight, they are the legitimate Lebanese army, are withdrawing back from that southern border as those Israeli troops go in. Now, there's no indication that this is a full-scale Israeli invasion, a ground invasion, but certainly some incursions in there by ground troops to deal with those remnants of Hezbollah on the southern border in Lebanon. Also, some ground incursions into Iran, again by the Israelis, Mossad, the intelligence agency, and special forces involved in a number of operations inside Iran. But again, look, we need to just set this in context. This does not mean a full-scale invasion of ground troops into Iran or indeed into southern Lebanon. But you're seeing small-scale operations of troops going in, dealing with a specific objective and target, and then maybe going out or maybe sort of launching some kind of a bridgehead. But we don't know at this stage just how significant that might be going forward. But it looks like some ground incursions both in southern Lebanon and in Iran by Israeli special forces.
We've also got some breaking news on the European stock market, which just opened. Significant falls in the FTSE 100, fallen significantly, dropped nearly 1.5%. Gas prices soared as well, hitting a 3-year high. A massive rise in the price of gas, up 32%. That's on top of a 50% rise seen yesterday, meaning a 93% rise this week alone. And it comes as Rachel Reeves is set to double down on her budget as the right economic plan as she delivers her spring statement for the economy today.
Yeah, Rachel Reeves is expected to speak on the impact of the escalation of that conflict in the Middle East, which has sparked uncertainty and, of course, those movements on the markets that we've just been speaking about.
Well, on that note, let's speak to GB News chief political correspondent Catherine Forster. And Catherine, do we expect the Chancellor to stick to the script today and stick to the plan in light of what we're seeing on the markets?
Yes, I think so. I think the message from Rachel Reeves will very much be keep calm and carry on. She will argue that the government has the right economic plan, that in taking the measures that she has, giving herself, I think, at the moment about £21 billion of headroom, that was the right call in a world which she will say is yet more uncertain. That, of course, a nod to the situation in the Middle East. And it reminds me rather of the situation that we had with her spring statement a year ago, which was just a few weeks before Donald Trump unleashed tariffs on the world. So for all that we're going to get a lot of forecast today from the Chancellor and then from the Office of Budget Responsibility on growth, on interest rates, on spending and so on and so forth, to some extent, a lot of that might become obsolete because we just don't know how this war in the Middle East may escalate. Great concerns about the Strait of Holmes. Of course, that carries so much global trade. That will have a very big impact if that is closed, as some reports are saying it already is. Oil and gas prices already rising, stock markets falling. So a very volatile situation. We're not expecting any new policies. There is pressure on Rachel Reeves from the Ministry of Defence. They're saying there's a black hole in defence spending, and also for all the Prime Minister's rhetoric about defence and keeping us safe in a dangerous world, their spending on defence at the moment simply does not match that. Also, a lot of pressure on the government about student loans. We are told they are looking at that, but it's unlikely that we'll get an announcement on that today. There is, we are told, a speech about growth in late March. Remember, that used to be the government's #1 mission. That was supposed to be where all the money for public services, extra money, was going to come from. We think that the growth forecast is likely, currently, I think 1.4% for this year, likely to be downgraded, but we'll see at around 12:30.
Catherine, thank you very much indeed. Well, let's cross to GB News national reporter Sophie Reaper. Morning to you, Sophie. And I hear you were on a farm with lots of very cute animals for us this morning, giving us a very welcome break.
Oh,
look at those lovely sheep in the background there, Sophie.
Cuddly and furry. And,
just what we need.
And the sheep are lovely too.
Tell us what the people there are telling you about the spring statement.
Well, it's a beautiful picture here behind me, but it's not quite as beautiful a picture for our farmers. They, of course, have been massively impacted by government decisions in recent months and years. So to that end, let's speak to the co-owner of this farm here in Cheshire. Andrew, thanks so much for joining us this morning. Let's get right into it, because last year in the spring statement, the Chancellor didn't mention the words farming or agriculture once. There was no mention whatsoever. So in your mind, what are you hoping for this spring statement?
Well, what we're hoping for and what we're going to get are completely different things. We're hoping for a change and some sort of injection into our industry, really, to give it a bit of a boost. We're not going to get anything because they don't see food security at this moment in time as important. You know, we've seen glorious Prime Minister running around the world doing trade deals with every other country and not supporting his own people and providing the food for us. You know, we've had massive knocks we're fighting to survive at the moment. We had a little bit of glimmer of hope, I should imagine. Well, I should say from Emma Reynolds last week at the NFU conference, where she said they are going to bring SFI back. But most farmers I spoke to, we don't want to rely on the likes of SFI and diversification. We just want a fair price for our produce.
Now, you mentioned a glimmer of hope. I'm sure that the government would argue that they perhaps gave farmers a glimmer of hope on the 23rd of December when they made that U-turn on inheritance tax. But having spoken to farmers myself, I know that perhaps that was a little bit too little, too late in terms of trust, and all you really want is some kind of stability. Was that the case for yourself?
Yeah, it was a sticking plaster, and it was very coy that they did it 2 days before Christmas, so no one could really question them. You know, the arguments they based everything on in the first place to introduce inheritance tax didn't really then stack up, and what we've seen since that is, you know, in the whole, all of the industry now is being affected by it because there is no confidence and no reinvestment going on at all, because no one knows really where they're at. So yeah, they came to us and they've said that's all they're going to give us, and that's it. But if you look now about the amount of farms and farm sales that there are at the moment, you can just tell it's done nothing to ease the pressure at all.
Andrew, thanks so much for joining us. We'll be joining you later, I know, to discuss your reaction to the spring statement when we get that a little bit later on this afternoon. There you go, guys. Tough time for our farmers and a tough time for these guys here as well in this beautiful farm here in Cheshire this morning.
Thank you very much.
Well, still ahead, we'll be discussing the levels of anti-Semitism in the UK following the conflict in Iran.
But first, if you're travelling to work or school this morning, here is your traffic and travel update.
Good morning, this is the latest AI travel news from gbnews.com. The M80 is currently closed southbound at Junction 7 due to an ongoing police incident, with local diversions actively in place. On the M4 eastbound at Junction 33 near Capel Lanilton, congestion is notably building on the off-slip. In North Yorkshire, a broken-down vehicle is obstructing one lane on the A19 southbound exit slip to the A170. Additionally, on the trains, South Western Railway is experiencing disruption between Guildford and Epsom, which is expected to last until 8:30 this morning. For more travel news, go to gbnews.com.
Decisions made in Washington aren't just shaping America, they're shaping Britain too. From migration to global security, from crime to health. Whatever happens in the White House today
will be felt in your town or city tomorrow.
That's why The Late Show is live from Washington, DC.
Cutting through the politics to show you what it all means for Britain.
The Late Show live every night at midnight.
Only on GB News,
Britain's news channel.
From the school run to the home run, watch a new show for all of Britain.
He can say whatever he wants.
A straight-talking show where all voices are heard.
And, you know, when are we going to stop talking about smashing the gangs and actually do it?
With the stories that matter from every part of our country.
There's a bit of a crash landing there for your Chancellor.
Bold, fearless and standing up for you. That's me, Martin Daubney, 3 p.m. till 6 p.m, weekdays, here only on GB News. The People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
Westminster's full of talk, but out here, it's the real world.
Am I allowed to talk now?
No, that's it. This is where it matters, real people and real lives. That's what politics is all about.
The fact has Trump made a good start? No.
Straight answers, no spin, and just a couple of pints.
How many fingers have I got up?
About 10. So join me for Lee Anderson's Real World every Friday at 7 p.m, only on GB News. The People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
You want to know what's really going on in the corridors of power? Labour don't know what to do with you half the time, and that makes you quite lethal in the chamber. Get behind the headlines with Chopper's Political Podcast. Join me, Christopher Hope, as I sit down with the great and the good of British politics. We'll see where this ruling takes us. These are the stories shaping our nation. Chopper's Political Podcast, available now on all platforms. Listen in and stay ahead.
In the GB Newsroom, we bring you the news as it happens.
With our team of dedicated journalists across the UK,
we're ready to keep you up to date with what's happening every half an hour, every single day. Bulletins here on GB News,
the People's Channel,
Britain's news channel.
Britain deserves a newsroom that puts the facts and your voice first.
Well, and that's what you get on GB News. Lively debates, lively conversation.
And we're not afraid to hold power to account.
And each other. So join me, Andrew Pearce.
And me, Miriam Gates, for Britain's Newsroom, weekdays from 9:30 on GB News.
At GB News, we love to hear from you, our loyal community. So drop us a line at gbnews.com/yoursay. There, you can talk to each other and also to the presenters live on air. gbnews.com/yoursay, because GB News is your channel, Britain's news channel.
Welcome
let's
back.
get more on the fallout from the United States attacks on Iran. There are concerns, of course, of an increase in anti-Semitism in the UK as a direct result of the tensions in the Middle East.
Yes, last week, TV presenter Rachel Riley was among the people who spoke at a meeting in Parliament on this very subject.
Well, the event was organised by Christians United for Israel UK and the GPS Network. Joining us now is the co-founder of GPS Network and Victims of Anti-Semitism, Jeremy Woodcliffe, and Development Manager at Christians United for Israel UK, Alistair Kirk. Thank you, gentlemen, both for joining us here. You've noticed, obviously we don't have the figures, it's very early, it's only just 4 days into this conflict, but you are aware of a significant rise, are you, in anti-Semitism?
We are aware of a significant rise in anti-Semitism across the country, and it's been going on for several years. Frankly, since October the 7th, it's skyrocketed. And it went through the roof before Israel went into Gaza. It's across the country, across society. Northern Ireland, Scotland, Wales is a terrible case in all walks of life. Whether it's schools, the NHS, police forces, it's being rooted out through education, but that's too slow. There has to be a faster way. When I say it's gone through the roof, let's put that into context. Jews are 8 times more likely to be attacked than the next demographic per capita. That's a call for a crisis situation. It's an emergency, and we need emergency measures from the government, from police forces, and across the country throughout society. It's affecting Jewish people of all sorts. Jewish people are not just the stereotype, the cliche. Jewish people are teachers, ambulance drivers, they are computer programmers, they're in television. We do everything that, just like regular Brits, because we are regular Brits, right? We are, if you like, GB Jews.
But it's shocking that you should feel the need to spell that out. I mean, who believes that's not the case?
I'm sorry to tell you, a lot of people are taking exception. School children are being taunted, are being... teachers are being taunted out of their jobs. Students can't go to classes because they are hounded by anti-Semitism. And you can't guise it into criticism of Israel because you don't know what side they're on, and they're just regular Brits. They happen to be Jewish. And that is unacceptable, and that is why we call on government to make changes. And that is why also we reassure the British public and especially the Jewish community, that all is not lost, albeit Jews are leaving the country, and every Jew in the country has thought about which country they're going to move to, which is tragic. Leaders of huge companies, high net worth individuals are not just leaving, they have left. And in which case they are not paying British taxes, which is going to cost the country, I'm sorry to say. And it's an indication that the country as a whole has a deeper problem because, as the saying goes, first they came for the Saturday people, then they came for the Sunday people.
And Alistair, this is a horrific situation that we find ourselves in Great Britain. As a Christian, what can we do to support our Jewish friends?
Well, I think it's very important because the Jewish community in the UK is around 300,000. So, it's pivotal really that I'm a Christian, and as Christians and as non-Jews, that we do stand shoulder to shoulder with the Jewish community and to speak out. There is, on Wednesday when we were in Parliament, we heard the testimonies of victims of anti-Semitism, and it was very clear, there was a clear pattern that even though there is a definition of anti-Semitism, that it wasn't actually being enforced, prosecuted. A lot of these cases were being covered up, complaints were being, put to one side. And so, we do need to stand with the Jewish community. We have to speak out. You mentioned Iran, and you asked whether or not anti-Semitism has risen since, the conflict in Iran. It has been rising before that, and we have to recognise that this is a battle between good and evil. And we only have to look at the weekend when we were seeing death to Israel on these streets in our capital.
Well, I just wanted to ask you both, just quickly before we have to move on, for your reaction to the fact that the deputy leader of the Greens Party, a political party on the rise in this country, was seen at this vigil for Ayatollah Ali Khamenei.
I think we have to be aware that a large number of these people on the far left are extremists unto themselves, and that there's a march, the Al-Quds Day parade, it's an Iranian parade on March the 15th, which is a celebration of the Ayatollah and his theocratic regime, with whom we are at war, and we call for that to be cancelled. It's a national threat, and the conflation of Iranian theocratic extremism and the Palestinian cause is one for great concern.
Very quickly, Alistair, just in a word, if you could.
Yes, there are two sides. You are either on the side of the Ayatollahs and the tyrants of Tehran, or you're on the side of the Iranian people. And, this is a moment where we have to choose sides. And it is appalling that here in 2026, there are those who have chosen the side of the Ayatollahs. And it is an intimidation towards the Jewish people and actually all those here in the United Kingdom that actually want to stand, with the Iranian people and with what is right. We're at a crossroads in this nation.
OK, Alistair, Jeremy, thank you so much for joining us this morning on GB News Breakfast.
Thank you.
Thank you. Now, do stay with us still to come as tensions in the Middle East continue. The IDF has reportedly completed a wave of strikes on key Hezbollah centres. We're going to bring you the latest on that with Anna Firth and Freddie Gray in just a few moments. But first, here is the forecast for some of the top European destinations.
Ready to soak up that holiday sunshine?
Won't we need some cover?
No worries. All sorted.
All Clear Travel Insurance sponsors GB News Travel Destinations Forecast.
Bit of a mixed bag weather-wise, looking across southern Europe at the moment. Yes, there's some wet weather in the west. We had Storm Regina pushing through Portugal, now bringing some rain across parts of Spain, even down towards the Canaries. Further east, a few showers for Italy, but across Greece, it's actually largely dry on Wednesday. Some decent sunshine, and with that, some decent warmth as well, with temperatures rising high teens, possibly low 20s. Still some further rain in Spain to come later this week.
All Clear Travel Insurance sponsors GB News Travel Destinations Forecast.
Do you trust what you're being told? Good, because neither do I.
Those are just facts.
I'm Alex Armstrong, and on my show, we'll expose the spin.
Well, I want to answer that, because you didn't let me last time, because you always speak over me.
The broken promises.
To deny that is denying the truth.
And the hypocrisy.
Needs to
stop.
You think we can allow?
Politics, policy, parliament. Nothing is off limits. No sugarcoating, no fear of offence, just the truth laid bare. Tune in every Saturday and Sunday at 9 p.m. for Alex Armstrong Tonight, only on GB News, Britain's news channel.
Britain's newsroom. Weekday mornings from 9:30.
We have a shortage of workers in one sense because the birth rate's so low. We're just not producing enough young people to take the place of those.
We also have
who
a million
retire.
of those young people.
We also have lots of people, not just young people, people of all ages who are not employed and being paid benefits and no requirement to work.
Well, there's a million.
We've had mass immigration, but then we've also got rising unemployment now because of the bureaucracy, the tax. So we don't need more workers' rights. There's not a problem in terms of workers' rights. There's much more.
You'll get your say in a minute.
And we have coming down the line AI, which is already laying off people. We're going to have more and more people unemployed and unemployable because whatever the AI big bots say, where they say, oh, they'll just lose all of their boring jobs and they'll do a more interesting job. If they could do a more interesting job, they'd be doing it.
And no less a figure than Alan Milburn, former Labour cabinet minister under Blair, who's been brought back by Mark Starmer to run one of his many
Is the employment czar?
Yeah, but he talked only yesterday about what's happening with 1 million people not in employment, training, education, 18 to 25 young people. And he said that it's a dependency culture, and he thinks it will damage them for life. And he said it's going to get worse with AI, and unemployment, we now know, is being predicted to go even higher.
It's bad for those young people who are kind of lost. It's bad for communities, and it's bad for the economy. You've got to get them into work, but you don't get them into work by thinking they're just slaves. Look, you give people decent rights, a decent rate of pay, you're more likely to get them into work.
So decent rate of pay, very important. Now, the problem is, though, that if you raise the minimum wage to so close to the median wage, you lose all the kind of differentiation between low-paid jobs and middle-paid jobs. Employers then can't promote people.
GB News, the People's Channel.
In the GB Newsroom, we bring you the news as it happens.
With our team of dedicated journalists across the UK.
We're ready to keep you up to date with what's happening every half an hour, every single day. Bulletins here on GB News.
The People's Channel.
Britain's news channel.
Welcome back to Breakfast. Let's take a look at some newspaper front pages on this Tuesday morning. The Times leads with President Trump's warning to Iran, big strikes are coming.
That's as the Sun highlights in action from the government after a blitz on an RAF base in Cyprus.
The Telegraph headlines President Trump's disappointment in Sir Keir Starmer, claiming he took far too long to let the US strike Iran from UK bases.
Well, the Mail reports US lambasts hand-wringing, pearl-clutching Starmer. As Kemi says, he's scared of his own voters.
Well, joining us now to go through what's making the news this morning is former Conservative MP Anna Firth and Deputy Editor of The Spectator, Freddie Gray. And Mark, we've had some breaking news in the past few moments, haven't we?
Yeah, so I want to just get your reaction to this. It's, you know, we always keep an eye on what is happening across the English Channel because it is clearly of importance to our audience, and we are getting reports now from our producer down in Dover that hundreds of small boat migrants are currently in the water heading towards the UK because why?
It's nice weather.
Indeed. The
One
weather
of the
is
first
improved
sunniest days.
after again another spell of blowy weather. It's improved and it's going to be passable, I think, for the next few days. So we expect hundreds more to take to boats and to cross the Channel. Anna, your reaction to that news first?
I think this is really, really concerning because it always used to be the case that the summer months were bad for boat crossings, and yet we've still had, 41,000 people coming in by small boat last year, second highest numbers. If we're now getting hundreds coming in the winter months, we could be looking at record figures this year. Now, let's not forget that Keir Starmer promised he was going to smash the gangs. He promised he was going to grip on this. All he's done is smashed records. He's given us gimmick after gimmick. He was going to do offshore processing in Albania. The Albanian president said, no, you're not, or the Prime Minister. He said he was going to do one out, one in. Instead, we've had 41,000 in and one out. He said he was going to deal with the Chinese, and the Chinese were going to stop all the engines for the boats. Well, they haven't, have they?
No.
So he's not getting a grip, and the whole crisis is getting worse.
Freddie?
Yeah.
Well, you're absolutely right to point to the weather element of it, and that, Labour's been trying to take credit for the bad weather.
essentially. And the fact that it's happening this quickly again. I also think it is worth talking about this story in relation to the other big story we've been talking about today, which is...
Absolutely. I was just going to ask you on that point, because the Iranians are in the top 5 of nationalities on the small boats. I think it is inevitable if what is happening in the Middle East drags on.
And what was the biggest springboard for a migratory wave in the last few years? It was Syria. The civil war in Syria. If we have a break, the Middle East is currently sort of setting fire to itself. If we have a civil war situation in Iran, we can expect another huge migratory wave. And the political consequences of that will be felt for decades.
Yeah. The flip side to that, though, Anna, is that Iran is already in the top 5 nations represented on the small boats. If you get a political settlement in Iran that's maybe favourable to a more democratic outlook, or at least less repressive, we're going to have fewer Iranians on the boats.
That's exactly what I was going to say. You cannot blame people wanting to flee that murderous, barbaric regime, and it brings, you know, the debate has got to move on to the future for Iran. We have got to see a more democratic, a more free Iran.
OK, on that note, Anna, Freddie, thank you very much. And thank you for your company today. Been really good to see you both. We'll have more developments for you, more breaking news in a few moments' time after the weather.
Warm and cosy, with a chance of zero visibility. Boxed Boilers sponsors the weather on GB News.
Hello, very good morning to you. I'm here from the Met Office with your GB News weather update. Now, it is a bit of a chilly start for some of us, but through today there's going to be a lot of dry, a lot of sunny weather around for most of us. Not all, because there is a weakening front running across parts of eastern England through the Midlands towards the southwest, bringing a bit more cloud here. There will be a few spots of drizzly rain, but towards the north, across much of northern England, a large chunk of Scotland and also Northern Ireland, it's dry and it's sunny, with just a few showers across the far north of Scotland. In the north, temperatures just about scraping into double figures, a bit milder than this towards the south. We're looking at highs of around 14 or 15 Celsius, so feeling relatively warm, particularly if you do get any of that sunshine. Like I said, a few showers across the far north of Scotland, particularly for Orkney and Shetland. These continuing as we go through the evening, but across much of Scotland, Northern Ireland, Northern England, we're ending the day on a largely clear note. That does mean, again, similar to last night, temperatures will drop, and so through the night we are going to see a bit of a frost developing in some places. Meanwhile, across central southern England and Wales, more cloud here, but there will be some breaks around, so some clear spells. And again, where you get the clear spells, we could see temperatures dropping, and there could be some mist, some fog, some murkiness in a few places as well. Towards the northwest of the UK, starting to see some outbreaks of rain pushing their way in. They're going to become more prevalent as we go through the day. As I mentioned, in any clearer spells, we are going to see temperatures taking a bit of a drop, so similar to last night, a bit fresh, perhaps a touch of frost in a few spots. Then through tomorrow, there is more cloud around generally, but many places will see some brightness, some sunshine breaking through at times, and towards the northwest, there'll be some outbreaks of rain, more persistent rain starting to edge its way in later on. That's going to push its way through later on this week. Many areas, though, staying dry through the day, and temperatures tomorrow in the southeast higher than today.
Warm and cosy, with a chance of zero visibility. Boxed Boilers sponsors the weather on GB News.
Thank you, Britain, for making GB News Radio such a huge success. Whether you're in the car, on the go, or listening at home, thank you for choosing us as your radio station.
Good morning. This is the latest AI travel news from gbnews.com. On the M80, southbound is closed at Junction 7 due to an ongoing police incident, with local diversions effectively put in place. Meanwhile, the M4 eastbound is heavily congested on the off-slip at Junction 33 near Capel Lanilturn. In Oxfordshire, motorists on the A34 southbound between the M40 and the A423 are experiencing delays of around 50 minutes due to unusually heavy traffic. And on the trains, London Overground services face disruptions between Willesden Junction and Richmond, and South Western Railway encounters disruptions between Guildford and Epsom. For more travel news, go to gbnews.com.
You could be the proud owner of a brand new Benivan 122. This very latest 2026 model comfortably sleeps 4, comes complete with built-in kitchen, compact washroom, and is worth over £67,000. But that's not all, as we'll also give you a further £25,000 in tax-free cash to spend on anything you like in the coming year. For a chance to win a camper van and cash, text prize to 63225. One entry costs £2.50 plus one standard network rate message, or text bonus to 63225. 5 entries cost £5 plus one standard network rate message. Go to gbnews.com/win. Entry start at £2.50. Call 0903 686 3232. Calls cost £2.50 plus your network access charge, or post your name and number to GB20 PO Box 8690 Derby DE1 9TT. Entrance must be 18 or over. Lines close at 4 p.m. on the 1st of May. Please check the closing time if listening or watching on demand. Good luck.
From the school run to the home run, watch a new show for all of Britain.
So he can say whatever he wants.
A straight talking show where all voices are heard.
And, you know, when are we going to stop talking about smashing the gangs and actually do it?
With the stories that matter from every part of our country.
There's a bit of a crash landing there for your Chancellor.
Bold, fearless and standing up for you. That's me, Martin Daubney, 3 p.m. till 6 p.m, weekdays, here only on GB News. The People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
Westminster's full of talk, but out here, it's the real world.
Am I allowed to talk then?
No, that's it. This is where it matters, real people and real lives. That's what politics is all about.
In fact, has Trump made a good start? No.
Straight answers, no spin, and just a couple of pints.
How many fingers have I got up?
About 10. So join me for Lee Anderson's Real World every Friday at 7 p.m, only on GB News. The People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
Good morning. President Trump launches a fresh attack on Sir Keir Starmer. Is the special relationship in grave danger?
Well, the US president warned the Prime Minister that the UK is pandering to Muslim voters by not backing his war against Iran, saying Britain is not such a recognisable country anymore.
Well, the shock broadside comes as the US warns Iran that a big wave of strikes is coming, suggesting that their military campaign on Tehran is only just beginning.
Well, speaking to GB News this morning, Israel's President Isaac Herzog urged Western leaders to do more in the face of ongoing Iranian aggression.
I think it's a moment of truth for leaders in the free world, and Britain is a top leader in the free world. Honestly, we know and we share a lot of interest together for many years, and I think the picture is very clear.
Well, we also asked Shadow Home Secretary Chris Philp how the Prime Minister was faring on the world stage.
He is no leader at all when it comes to standing up strongly for Britain's national interest on the international stage and standing up strongly against terrorist regimes like Iran. Keir Starmer got this once again very badly wrong because he is a weak lawyer, not a leader.
Well, the first flight from Abu Dhabi landed in Heathrow last night. But what's going to be done about the estimated hundreds of thousands of Britons still stranded out there who may want to leave? Well, we'll speak to some of those who are stranded a little later.
Meanwhile, there are growing concerns about global oil and gas supplies as Iran warns that they would burn any ship trying to pass through the Straits of Hormuz.
Also today, the Chancellor is under pressure to release an emergency plan amid escalating tensions in the Middle East as she's set to deliver her spring statement.
Well, the government is likely to argue that they've got the right approach to the economy in uncertain times, even though we're expecting that growth forecasts are likely to be downgraded.
And we've come to Leeds to find out what it means for real people in the Chancellor's own backyard.
Yes, it's a bit of a chilly start out there for many of us, but with lots of dry, lots of sunny weather around today, it really is going to feel like spring has sprung. Stick around for the details.
Good morning, it's just gone 9 o'clock. I'm Ellie Costello.
And I'm Mark White, and this is GB News Breakfast.
Mark. We've got an update, haven't we, on the number of people crossing the channel this morning?
Yeah, this is from our producer, Chris, well known, I think, to our audience now, as we often reference him, down in Dover doing sterling work for us. With regard to the numbers crossing, it's risen to about 300 currently in the water because of an improvement of weather conditions heading towards the UK. They're likely to go to the port of Ramsgate because the Port of Dover facility for migrant arrivals is being upgraded because it was so busy over the last couple of years, go figure, that the infrastructure there needs redeveloping. So they're landing in Ramsgate instead. But as I say, 300 currently in the water, and according to our producer, he expects that we're going to see a few days, actually, of acceptable good weather when hundreds more are likely to cross the channel.
And it's very early on in the year, isn't it, to see this level of crossings. So you're going to stay across that for us on GB News. Now, at 9:03, the US president has warned Sir Keir Starmer that the UK is pandering to Muslim voters by not backing his war against Iran. He says Britain is not such a recognisable country anymore.
Well, the shock broadside comes as the US warns Iran that a big wave of strikes is coming, suggesting that their military campaign on Tehran is only just beginning.
I'm delighted to say that we're joined again by defence analyst and retired British Army officer Colonel Simon Diggins. Very good morning to you again. Can we just look into President Trump's comments? This is to the Sun newspaper this morning. He actually went further than what we've already just read out there, Simon. He said that France has been great. He says everybody else has been great. The UK has been much different from the others, and Starmer should have helped. What do you make of that?
I completely agree with President Trump. I mean, the interests of the United States and the interests of Britain in dealing with a potentially nuclear-armed Iran are exactly the same. And indeed, ironically, of course, we've had British government statements saying that Iran must not be allowed to acquire nuclear weapons and they're a threat to regional instability. If that's a situation, and that's our objective, is not to allow Iran to become a major threat to the region, then when somebody steps in to do something about it, we should be absolutely alongside them. So I'm with President Trump on this.
Can I ask you, Simon, as a military man through and through who served our country so well, what you make of the fact that the French have announced they are sending missile and drone defence systems to Cyprus, the Hellenic Navy, the Navy of Greece, sending 2 frigates and some warplanes to help defend RAF Akrotiri as well? That's humiliating, isn't it?
It is a bit humiliating because we should have the ability to defend ourselves. But we've got ourselves in an extraordinary position. I mean, the primary weapon system we might use against that are our Type 45 destroyers. All of them, all 5 of them, are currently in dock. The closest one that we could get out is in a 3-month refit. I mean, that's an extraordinary bit of bad planning. This crisis has been running now for a couple of months. So to actually have a primary defence system not available seems to me to be really rather wrong.
We've known about the Iranian threat for so long, haven't we? So why weren't we more prepared?
Well, we should have been, because, I mean, this crisis has been running since December, at least.
Is it political will?
I think it's a combination of political will and political indicators. So the government indicated that they probably weren't interested particularly about doing it, and then the Navy would respond to the political indicators. If the political indicators in November, December say, listen, something is going to go really badly wrong, we think over the period December through to February, we need to have you in place. And the fact that the Iranians have got significant amounts of ballistic missiles and drones is well known, is actually a key understanding, intelligence-wise, of what the Iranian threat represented. So we should have had in place the means of defending ourselves.
Where do you think this leaves the special relationship that we once had with the US?
I think under significant question, because while there have been occasions in the past when the British and Americans have disagreed with each other, and it happened, for example, in 1983 over Grenada, broadly speaking, on major issues, we agree. And I said the huge irony, or the sad irony is we actually agree with their objectives, which is that Iran shall not acquire nuclear weapons. The Israelis and the Americans now do something about it. We should have been doing something about it as well.
OK. Simon, thank you so much. Really good to see you this morning. Thank you for joining us in the studio.
Well, joining us now from Tel Aviv is former Israeli government spokesperson Colonel Miri Eisin.
I apologise. I just got the alert. I have to go to a bomb shelter.
You go get to a place of safety.
Now.
OK.
I apologise. Go back to
not
yours.
a problem.
This is Israel.
Get yourself
okay,
safe.
I apologise. Sorry.
Stay safe. Thank you very much. Thank you.
Well, Mary Eamonn there, just dashing off to that bomb shelter. Listen, she's absolutely right. There is now early warning of incoming missiles from Iran that are targeting, it seems, Tel Aviv, where, of course, Mary Eamonn is based at the moment, and also central Israel. So incoming missiles. We have not seen any missiles launched from Iran since last night. There were some drone launches into central Israel and indeed into northern Israel from southern Lebanon early this morning, but no missile launches. So we'll endeavour as well to bring you some images, if we can, of live images of Tel Aviv when we get those available to you. What you're looking at there is a drone interception this morning from central Israel, one of those drones that was involved in that incursion earlier. This is the thing, even though we believe that the Israeli and US military are having clearly an effect in taking out lots of these missile launchers, the Iranians have many, many thousands of these Shahed drones, the Shahed drones that have been used to such devastating effect in Ukraine, bombing the civilian populations across Ukraine on a daily basis. Well, the Iranians, the developers of those drones, have been stockpiling many, many thousands of those drones. And I think as their missile stocks are depleted, as their launchers are taken out, expect more in the way of drone launches as well. But right now, at this point, there is a missile strike incoming to central Israel and the Tel Aviv area, of course.
Can we just get that video up that we were just showing you on the screen? If you're listening on the radio, what we're seeing in this video is Lebanese troops pulling back from the Israel border. It's after Israel has announced some operations in southern Lebanon. Simon Diggins is still with us, Colonel Simon Diggins. Is it your assessment, we're hearing about these Israeli troops carrying out incursions along parts of the Lebanese border, is it your assessment that this isn't a ground invasion, but it is more limited operations within Lebanon?
I think that's correct at the moment. I mean, I think because of there is a very fragile sort of ceasefire across Lebanon as a whole, but Hezbollah, having initially been quiet after the Iranian and US fighting started, have now kind of opened up and have now done that. So I think the Israelis have decided to conduct limited incursions in order to deal with the missile threat from southern Lebanon. I don't expect their intention is to have a full-scale invasion of the country at all at the moment.
Yeah, I mean, that would clearly be a very, very significant endeavour for the Israelis. And they're actually only in the process now of trying to mobilise 50,000 more reservists. So that's going to take a while for them actually to be up to strength and able to take part in such an endeavour anyway. But do you think it's more localised incursions?
I think it's localised, but I think the fact they are also mobilising is perhaps an indicator of how long they think this overall conflict is going to last. Because while obviously they are conducting offensive operations into Iraq itself, they have to defend their own country, and that's not just about defence against missile attacks. It's also defence from the proxies of Iran who may be fighting as well. So my understanding, I think that would be an indicator to me they expect this to go on for some time.
OK.
Thank you very much, Simon. Really good to have your analysis this morning. Thank you.
Thank you, Simon.
Now, do stay with us here on GB News Breakfast. Still to come, pressure on the Chancellor to release an emergency plan as she's set to deliver her spring statement today. We're going to get the very latest on that next.
You want to know what's really going on in the corridors of power? Labour don't know what to do with you half the time, and that makes you quite lethal in the chamber. Get behind the headlines with Chopper's Political Podcast. Join me, Christopher Hope, as I sit down with the great and the good of British politics. We'll see where this ruling takes us. These are the stories shaping our nation. Chopper's Political Podcast, available now on all platforms. Listen in and stay ahead.
Decisions made in Washington aren't just shaping America, they're shaping Britain too. From migration to global security, from crime to health. Whatever happens in the White House today
will be felt in your town or city tomorrow.
That's why The Late Show is live from Washington, D.C.
Cutting through the politics to show you what it all means for Britain.
The Late Show live every night at midnight.
Only on GB News,
Britain's news channel.
Exciting news. Every Friday, my Patrick Christie's Tonight Show is going to have a twist to it. We're welcoming some special guests. You. That's right, on Fridays I'm going to be doing my show in front of a live studio audience because this show is about you and what you have to say. It's going to be the same big debates, same big topics, same big opinions. But every Friday night at 9 p.m, you are invited to come on down to Patrick Christie's Tonight to be a part of the action. Only on GB News, the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
Hi, I'm Michelle Dewberry and my show is your opportunity to cut through all the noise and dive in headfirst to some robust debates. Ideas clash.
Situation,
No,
isn't it?
no,
Because the failure is...
You're
the failure is...
deliberately avoiding my point. Nothing's held back.
And if you think this is the end of it, wait for more.
And we do not shy away from the difficult stuff. Sometimes I want to shake people and say, if only you understood. So join me on Jubes & Co weeknights at 6 p.m, only on GB News, Britain's news channel.
Join me, Nana Akwe, for an informative, interactive news programme with a difference. It's fun.
No, he didn't say that, though.
I'm so surprised.
I think there's an element of truth to that.
Join me from 3 p.m. every weekend, only on GB News, Britain's news channel.
In the GB Newsroom, we bring you the news as it happens.
With our team of dedicated journalists across the UK,
we're ready to keep you up to date with what's happening every half an hour, every single day. Bulletins here on GB News,
the People's Channel,
Britain's news channel.
At GB News, we love to hear from you, our loyal community. So drop us a line at gbnews.com/yoursay. There, you can talk to each other and also to the presenters live on air. gbnews.com/yoursay, because GB News is your channel, Britain's news channel.
Welcome back to Breakfast. Now, today, the Chancellor, Rachel Reeves, is set to double down on her budget as the right economic plan. It's as she confirms her spring statement for the economy.
Yeah, Rachel Reeves is expected to speak on the impact of the escalating conflict in the Middle East, which, of course, has sparked uncertainty in the UK and wider economy.
Yeah, and we saw upset on the markets this morning, didn't we? GB News chief political correspondent Catherine Forster is with us. Morning to you, Catherine. And with that market upset in mind, are we expecting the Chancellor to stay on script today, saying that she's got the right plan for the country?
Yes, I expect so. I think the government's attitude is very much keep calm and carry on. There will be a nod to the situation in the Middle East. Of course, she's likely to say that in a world, quote, yet more uncertain, the government has got the right economic plan. They took a decision to, well, they had two huge tax-raising budgets, didn't they, despite what they said before the last general election. They gave themselves about £21 billion of headroom, and she will try to take a pretty low-key but optimistic approach. They desperately need to give people a bit of hope, don't they, seeing where they are in the polls and the feeling that many people have that the country's just not functioning effectively. But look, it reminds me a bit of this time last year when she had the spring statements. Donald Trump hit the world with tariffs just a few weeks later, given the situation in the Middle East, given the oil and gas prices already spiking, potential huge disruption to trade from the closure of the Strait of Hormuz. We don't know how bad this is going to get. So to a large extent, all of the forecasts that the Chancellor is going to unveil at 12:30 this morning on growth, on spending, on unemployment, and so on and so forth, have been conducted before these new events have taken place. These are not being factored in. So a lot of this, frankly, could become obsolete quite quickly. But we will get forecasts on growth. Now, the government always said that that was their number one mission. That was the way that they said they were going to get money for public services. The growth projection for this year was 1.4% in November. We are expecting that to be downgraded, so potentially going in the wrong direction. And there's also things that were not accounted for last November, U-turns on business rates, to some extent on farmers' inheritance tax, the SEND provision and so on. So her headroom is likely to be less than it was, and of course there's huge demands for more spending. I mean, the Ministry of Defence, just one of the departments wanting the Chancellor to turn on the spending taps. The Prime Minister talks big about defence and keeping us all safe, but military bosses and MOD officials will say that they're not getting the money that they need. Then of course there's a row about student loans. We don't expect any big policy announcements today, but my goodness, the government do need to give us some good news, because look at the latest poll, which put, yes, Reform ahead at 23, this is a poll from YouGov, but the Greens overtaking Labour on 21 points, Labour on only 16.
Catherine Forster there for us in Westminster. Thank you very much.
Well, let's cross now to our Deputy Political Editor, Tom Harwood. Good morning to you, Tom. I hope you're not getting too much of a sort of shock to the system actually being out there in the world around you.
I know, Mark. It's so important to come out here and find out what people feel in the rest of the country, although I haven't gone somewhere that doesn't feel too unfamiliar. As you can see, I'm in a bar. But don't worry, Mark. I'm just staying on the coffee. This is the Outside Inn Sports Bar here in Leeds, just around the Chancellor's own constituency. Now, this is a really important place to come because, of course, the Chancellor will be making some big statements in Parliament today. How will it affect her constituency? How will it affect, indeed, the wider country? Well, I'm delighted to be joined by Councillor Trish Smith, local councillor here for the Reform Party. Trish, how are people feeling right now? It's a difficult time for the economy.
Well, good morning to everybody. It's a very difficult time for the economy at the moment, and the people in Pudsey are really feeling its pinch. Our businesses are struggling. They are battling higher costs. They are battling higher taxation. They are grappling with falling footfall, the challenges that we see online, and it's a very difficult picture for them. Very difficult indeed.
Now, of course, the events of the last 3-4 days are casting an entirely new light on what was already a difficult picture of you, as you've been illustrating. I mean, are you concerned that things are going to get even worse?
I'm very much concerned, We've obviously got the spring statement this afternoon, and we're hoping for some really good news for our businesses with that. We've got the business rates that's being looked at in April, and we have no certainty with regards to what that will bring. Then we've obviously got the global problems that we're seeing more and more. I noticed petrol going up literally within hours of passing one petrol station yesterday to passing it again yesterday evening. Petrol had gone up by 1 pence a litre. Now, if you've got a business, you can't legislate for that. You can't allow for that. You know, things do fluctuate, prices go up, costs rise. We know that, but we need certainty. We need some stability in our economy, and I'm looking to the Chancellor today to bring us that.
Now, you've been talking about how involved in the local community you are, how people in this area in particular feel such a sense of community. Do you get a sense that politicians down in Westminster understand what people are going through out there in the wider country?
No, I think there's a complete disjoin. You know, I challenge Rachel Reeves to come and walk with me through our town centre. She just doesn't engage at all, really, with our community. There have been several businesses that have openly barred her. They've been very highly publicised. I don't believe she understands what the people are feeling in Pudsey and the west of Leeds.
Well, thank you very much indeed for joining us. That's all we've got time for, but we'll be in Leeds throughout the day, finding out what people feel in the Chancellor's own backyard.
All right, Tom, thank you very much. Enjoy the pub.
Stick to the coffee as you promised, though.
Now, Britain's newsroom coming up at 9:30. Andrew Pearce and Miriam Keats are here to tell us all about
Tom's very good at playing snooker.
I don't think so.
I think, do you know what? I think he might be. I think he might
I think he'll be
surprise
sat there calculating the angle of incidence and the angle of reflection, and he'll do quite well.
He'd be better than me, we can be sure.
That's
about
before
that.
a pint, anywee.
Yeah. Now, lots coming up, of course. We'll be looking at the spring statement. Big moment for the Chancellor. I don't think she's going to tell us very much, to be clear. We've just been told we can watch Tom play snooker.
Maybe she's going to say, look, given what's happening, I'm committing many billions right now to our defence.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. And we are now watching Tom breaking the balls in. Isn't that pool? I'm no expert, but I don't think that is snooker. I think that's pool.
That's pool, and my God, is he bad.
Yeah. But to distract from Tom's snooker playing, we will be looking at this developing world war. It's becoming at least a regional war with now Israel invaded Lebanon this morning.
And France coming to guard RAF Akrotiri.
Yes.
And we're talking to
Along with the
someone
Greeks.
from Cyprus who'll give us a very good insight into
brilliant.
that.
Great.
All that after your weather.
Warm and cosy, with a chance of zero visibility. Boxed Boilers sponsors the weather on GB News.
Hello, very good morning to you. I'm here from the Met Office with your GB News weather update. Now, it is a bit of a chilly start for some of us, but through today there's going to be a lot of dry, a lot of sunny weather around for most of us. Not all, because there is a weakening front running across parts of eastern England through the Midlands towards the southwest, bringing a bit more cloud here. There will be a few spots of drizzly rain, but towards the north, across much of northern England, a large chunk of Scotland and also Northern Ireland, it's dry and it's sunny, with just a few showers across the far north of Scotland. In the north, temperatures just about scraping into double figures, a bit milder than this towards the south. We're looking at highs of around 14 or 15 Celsius, so feeling relatively warm, particularly if you do get any of that sunshine. Like I said, a few showers across the far north of Scotland, particularly for Orkney and Shetland. These continuing as we go through the evening, but across much of Scotland, Northern Ireland, Northern England, we're ending the day on a largely clear note. That does mean, again, similar to last night, temperatures will drop, and so through the night we are going to see a bit of a frost developing in some places. Meanwhile, across central southern England and Wales, more cloud here, but there will be some breaks around, so some clear spells. And again, where you get the clear spells, we could see temperatures dropping, and there could be some mist, some fog, some murkiness in a few places as well. Towards the northwest of the UK, starting to see some outbreaks of rain pushing their way in. They're going to become more prevalent as we go through the day. As I mentioned, in any clearer spells, we are going to see temperatures taking a bit of a drop, so similar to last night, a bit fresh, perhaps a touch of frost in a few spots. Then through tomorrow, there is more cloud around generally, but many places will see some brightness, some sunshine breaking through at times, and towards the northwest, there'll be some outbreaks of rain, more persistent rain starting to edge its way in later on. That's going to push its way through later on this week. Many areas